So here's a, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:33. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 members of our board, and I'm getting a text message right now saying a 5th member will be here within 10 minutes. So we'll have a complete board present this evening for anybody with business in front of the board that needs 5 members. For the board, we have a previously signed item here that there's some signatures missing. Look on here, if your signature's not on it, would you add it and just pass it amongst yourselves? Roll call, to my right, Bob Haskell, Veronica Debonese, myself, Jim Akabachi. I'm the clerk. I'll be taking the chair this evening because our chair is absent, traveling abroad. To my left, Walter Cruz, and Ken Buckland, our town planner, to my left. So, Bob, Veronica, Jim, Walter.
I think you don't need to sign.
And like I mentioned earlier, Jake Morrison will be joining us in a few minutes. When he walks in, I'll add him into the record. First thing on the meeting, on the minutes from July 24th, I have had a chance to review them. If I could have a motion to accept as presented in a second, we can go ahead and get this out of the way.
Motion to accept.
Okay, do I have a second? I have
A second.
Okay. Motion by Bob, seconded by Walter. All in favor, say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. Signed as of August 14th.
All right, sign this.
Okay, first up on the public hearings, 28-19, Osama Mohammed. Are you here? Please come on up, sir. Has this been read in, or is it?
Not read in yet.
Okay. And we have a couple more to pass to my right. Yeah. 1, 2. Here you go, guys. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on August 14, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 28-19 for a use variance / special permit / appeal from the requirements of Article 3, Table 320, and Article 13, Section 1341, Article 14, Section 1460 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Osama Mohammed, care of Attorney Leonard M. Bello, 118 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, seeking to reestablish a fueling station that has been discontinued for a period of 2 years or more, located at 307 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. It appears on Assessors Map 1153, Lot 47. I think those numbers are reversed with my knowledge of lots and map numbers. We don't have any map 1153, so I think it's map 47, Lot 1153, in the Wareham Village 1 zoning district. Is Mr. Bello here tonight with you?
No, he's not.
You're going to represent yourself?
Or we can, yeah, sure.
You want me to table this, and is he due later, or is he not coming?
He's not coming, he's in Washington.
He's he's not coming,
Yeah.
period. Okay, tell us what's going on.
I would like to have an extension to reopen it, that's all.
Like, you were before us before,
Yes.
and it was approved for you to reopen.
To reopen, and after that, the selectmen, they said, would never submit the paper for the fuel. But we're trying to open it under a condition, special permit and everything, and it's existing. So now, they said it's for the special, to reopen, it's expired. I don't know how, it's supposed to be 2 years.
Let's take a look at what the denial letter says.
They never issued a fuel license to reopen the station. So I have to go in
So
front of
you
the...
were
sel-
never reissued, you want one? You were never reissued a license to store fuel, was
Yeah,
that
but
what
it's
I'm hearing?
been existing there for years. And it was on hold with the Captain Dykes for 60 months. But I guess they didn't see that and they wanna... I gotta go in front of the board again.
The reason why it's been out of date is there was a variance request.
Correct.
A use variance, and those are only good for 1 year.
Okay. So has it been a year since we granted, since this was heard before?
It's been going back and forth between different boards and everything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just got lost in between.
Yes, it was. It was appealed or applied for back in 2017.
Yes.
So it's been
Okay.
more than 2 years.
But your contention is the reason that it's not open is because the town has held you up.
That's correct.
You're ready, willing, and able to open?
I'm ready to open any minute. I have all the permits, all the paperwork from the state, everything approved. As far as tobacco, as far as fuel, everything in order as far as the state, all the testing. I submitted all the paperwork to the fire station, everything like that. So we're waiting for the selectmen to issue the permit.
So it looks here like you've got two reasons why you need a variance. Let me see if the board has any questions. Bob, do you have any questions of the gentleman?
Is there fuel in the ground now?
Excuse me?
Is there fuel in the ground
No,
now?
it's just whatever was existing when I purchased the property.
Okay,
But I didn't add no fuel, nothing like that.
okay. Thank you.
Veronica?
I don't have any questions right now.
Let the record show that Jake, during this conversation, has arrived and is present and hearing on this matter. Go ahead, Jake. Any questions?
No questions.
Yeah, my question is, I know the gas station well, it's been sitting for a while. So the assumption is that there is fuel in the tank, it's been sitting there for 2 years. I would want to see something that says them tanks are up to code and
it's
can
up
be
to
filled.
code.
Right.
Yeah, it's up to good and been tested every
Right, if you
year.
have that, I'm fine with that,
Oh,
so.
they have it with the fire station, they have all the paperwork from all the testing every year.
Well, that was the
And
only
it's
thing I would
already
have.
submitted to the state, and everything is passed.
It's been a gas station since I was a baby, pretty much, so, I mean, I don't see the big deal with it coming back.
Okay. Is there anybody here in the room this evening that would like to speak either in favor or against this article? Hearing none, I'm going to turn back to the board and ask the board the wishes. And does anybody have a motion to make? Motion to grant, motion to deny?
Motion to approve?
I motion to grant.
Okay. I have a motion by Jake to approve the application as presented, seconded by Walter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here, you're all done.
Thank you.
When they say yes, stop talking. Get out of here.
All right, thank you.
Expect to see it open soon.
I hope so. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, he can get one, I think.
You doing?
What?
Application.
Yeah, you're right at that.
Sign and sign. These are coming back. These are coming back. Did you hear enough that you can help,
Draft the decision, yes.
Yes, thank you. I was gonna say Sonia's name, but I couldn't remember it. Zoning board checklist, okay. Next one up is gonna be 2919 Nature's Medicine, 3119 Cranberry Highway, special permit. Come on up, give us a second to get this other one signed, and we'll be right with you. They both signed?
They haven't signed yet.
Okay, let's get them on signature before I start. You need a pen?
I need a pen.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I...
Yeah, we're penniless down here.
You can't sign it if we don't give it to you to sign,
Yeah, I
huh?
need to bring my pens.
Man, you guys, you're not as good as I thought you were.
Jan's not here, so
You need a pen?
He's got one.
I'll borrow his.
I got an extra one if you need it. We're not signing that much, no. Nature's Medicines, Inc. All good? All good. Which one's that gonna go? You got the folder? Done, and so you know what to have signed on that.
Yeah.
The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on August 14th, 2019, at 6:30 PM in Room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 29-19 for a special permit from the requirements of Article 3, Article 390 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Nature's Medicines, Inc., P.O. Box D, 482, Globe Street, Fall River, Mass. 02724, seeking to operate an adult-use marijuana establishment located at 3119 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Assessors Map 8, Lot 1019A, in the Commercial Strip zoning district. Thank you for waiting for us to get our paperwork up to date, gentlemen. Who's going to speak?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Ecobacci. My name is Valerio Romano. I'm an attorney with the law firm Vicente Cedarberg. We represent Nature's Medicines. I'm joined by Jerry Wilson, who's a representative of the company, and Rich Ritchie from Field Engineering. Rich Riccio from Field Engineering. As said by Mr. Ecobacci, we're here for a special permit for the operation of a retail marijuana establishment at 3119 Cranberry Highway. I'd like to thank the board for their time this evening. This is not the first time this issue has been in front of the board. You had one of the very first ones open in the state, so to the extent that I'm belaboring anything, I'll try to run through the presentation as quickly as possible, but please interrupt me if you've heard it before or don't wish to hear it again. So basically, we're applying for a special permit. I'm going to run through the criteria of the zoning bylaw. First, satisfaction of review criteria for a special permit set forth in 1461. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. So we're in the strip commercial, the CS zoning district. This is where it was zoned to be. So we comply with zoning that expressly allows for an adult use marijuana establishment by special permit. So that's where we are. We comply with zoning.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, just for the edification of anybody in the room that might be gray on this matter. If I understand correctly, you're occupying a building known as Jordan Plaza,
I believe that's the
and
name
you're
of the
going to
building.
occupy the space formerly as a Sears appliance store?
Correct.
Just to help other people understand, as you speak, they know where you are. Go ahead, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's 4,200 or so square feet on the right side of the building if you're facing it from the front, and a 26,000 or so square foot building. So we're operating, or hoping to operate in that right side area of the building, about 4,200 square feet. The property is not within 500 feet of an existing K through 12 public or private school, or within 1,500 feet, based on your bylaw, of another marijuana establishment. So we satisfy that aspect of your bylaw as well. We don't foresee any significant exterior modifications. As you'll see on the site plan as submitted, we would like to put in an ADA accessible ramp. But other than that, there's no exterior modifications that are contemplated in the application. We're going to contribute to getting lab-tested quality cannabis to users 21 and over. We are not, this is not a medical operation, it's strictly for adult use, so we can forego that aspect of the bylaw. We'll work with local law enforcement. We're completely open book and transparent. For those reasons, we don't think that we do satisfy that first section. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood, or will comply with local signage and state sign requirements. The next is that the specific site is an appropriate location for such use, structure, or condition. As described, we comply with your zoning bylaw. This is expressly where it was meant to go in your bylaw, and we're not seeking any variances. So we comply with that second prong. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. There's 72 spots that are currently striped there. For our particular portion of it, we require about 15 spots based on the bylaw. We have plenty of parking. You know, one of the issues, I think, was the first one that may have opened, and it was one of the very first ones in the state as well, so there was additional traffic. There's now 27 that have final approval in the state, and by the time we get open, it's probably going to be double that. Parking and traffic concerns are diminishing as more and more open, but there's 72 shared spots, and according to the bylaw for the retail use, we need about 15. But we can share and use up to all 72. So we believe that we're good with parking as well. And as more and more open, traffic concerns are also diminished. And we have, like I said, Rich Riccio from Field Engineering. If there's questions from the board about traffic, we're happy to discuss those further. The next aspect is that adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. And so part of that is nitrogen issues. This is just purely retail. We're not doing any cultivation. We don't expect to affect that aspect of the bylaw. We're not doing any significant exterior modifications other than hopefully being able to put in an ADA ramp. So we believe we satisfy that as well. The use or structure as proposed does not pose a substantial detriment to the town or neighborhood in which it is proposed. So we're going to hire locally. We've committed to that in our host community agreement. To the extent legally permissible and non-discriminatory, we've decided that we want to hire locally. We're also giving back, and that's also for anybody who's going to be working on the property as well, beyond just employees. We're also going to be giving back via the host community agreement 3% of our revenue as allowed by the state. So we believe that we satisfy that criteria as well. Now, there's specific zoning criteria under 390 for marijuana facilities. The first one pertains to registered marijuana dispensaries or medical facilities. We're not medical. We're not applying under 391. Under 392, we have to be in CS district, essentially. And we satisfy that as well. We are right in strip commercial. Under 393, there shall be no more than 3 marijuana retailers in Wareham. As far as we know, there are not 3 yet, and so we're under that number if approved by the board, if we're privileged enough to operate here, so we satisfy that as well. 1,500 feet between marijuana retailers. We're more than 1,500 feet from the existing marijuana retailer in Wareham, so we satisfy that as well. We will be in compliance with state licensing regulations. Of course, the board is free to make that a condition of the permit. It goes without saying also that we can't possibly operate without the state approving us. So, either way, we will submit to the board our final licensure from the state as we move forward in the process. All marijuana establishments under 396 shall be in conformance with dimensional intensity and setback requirements. We're solely inside, other than the ADA ramp that we're trying to build, so we do not implicate any of the setback requirements. This was previously built and approved for retail use, so we're going to continue to do that. There's nothing new there. Signage, we will comply with not only state signage, but the Wareham zoning bylaw signage requirements as well. We'll work as we further develop it. Basically, our sign is going to allow people to find where they're going, but we're not, no flashing neon signs, nothing bright. State requirements and local Wareham zoning requirements. And then finally, we're not, under 398, we're not seeking a use variance. We are within the table of uses at this location, and we're not seeking any variances, and we're in front of the board pursuant to the table of uses and Wareham's zoning bylaw. So with that, that's really the bulk of our application and our presentation. I would turn it over to the board for any questions. If Mr. Riccio has anything to add as far as, site plan, we certainly have brought that. But I think, our application is thorough and completed. It lays all that out, and, without belaboring things, I'd go to Mr. Ekelbacci and see what the board's pleasure is as far as questions or how we'd like to proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm doing a cursory read here, and I see something about medical marijuana, but you're not doing medical, you're doing recreational.
This is adult use only, yes, recreational
Recreational
only.
only.
I think if it mentions medical, it's just to say that we're not doing medical. And so we don't implicate 391 in your zoning bylaw.
Okay,
Yep,
I was listening and reading, and so
of course.
And I have a question. Why the need for a handicap accessible ramp? Isn't the building already ADA compliant?
It is, it was just to have one dedicated, because
I see on the plan, it's gonna go on the south side of the building,
Where their main entrance is. Their entrance is on the side.
so they're gonna change the entrance. Right now, the entrance,
That's what it's
There-
showing
there's
on the
an-
plan, yes.
Yes, there's a entrance door there, we're just gonna move it forward, and then we would just like to
oh, there's an
put,
entrance on the side, and you're gonna just move it?
we're just gonna move it
closer to the
forward.
front.
We would just like to have a handicap accessible spot closer to the door for our
For the
patients.
convenience of the customers.
I'm sorry.
Did he identify himself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you mind identifying yourself, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Jerry Wilson.
You're Jerry
I'm
Wilson.
Director of Operations for
Direct-
Nature's
okay.
Medicine, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, that's my only question. I'm gonna turn, I always go to Bob first and put him on the spot, so I'm gonna go to you last, Bob.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Jake. Walter?
Yeah, I got quite a few questions then. So you're gonna use the existing Sears building, you're not gonna do anything inside that building? For the marijuana, you're saying it's gonna stay the way it is?
Could leave Rich too.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what you're
Or
saying.
you plan on putting the marijuana inside that existing building?
Let me make a clarification. The interior work is not part of the
Oh,
zoning.
it's not part, they just wanna know that they can put it
They
there.
will be making interior modifications. They have submitted plans. It's not part of your purview. You can ask the question, though.
Okay. All right, so,
We will change the interior, but the exterior is what won't change.
all right, yeah, I don't have much then. The only thing I would have is, do you guys know where you're at on that list for approval?
So now, one of the things that the Cannabis Control Commission has done differently than they used to was they are requesting special permits before you can get through what they call the architectural review process. So we have to submit architectural review and get that approved from the CCC, and this is just one step in that process. But by the time we're approved and, construction is complete, I mean, it's gonna be at least 6 months, if not more. And, with 27 open today, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 40 open, at least by the time we're open. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Cruz.
Yeah, I'm good. All right.
Okay, Bob, your turn.
I have one concern here. As you know, Route 28 is going to be starting a major rebuild very shortly, and that's going to affect the traffic and everything getting into your facility. Do you have any plans for traffic control by the local police, or what are you going to do with this when this takes place? Because this is going to start very soon, and that's going to put that road in a mess. And my fear is people coming in like from the Cape or whatever the case may be, they're going to park across the street, and they're going to try to get across the street to your facility. So my point is, are you going to have anything set up for the protection of those people, or whatever the case may be? Is law enforcement going to be part of this on a regular basis? That's my main concern.
So Mr. Haskell, first of all, it's sort of a requirement that any one of these businesses in the Commonwealth it's like sort of completely transparent, open to working with local law enforcement. So to
Okay.
the extent that there's any of that issue, local law enforcement can be there as much as possible. And if we have to hire a detail officer to keep people safe, somebody overtime or off duty, we would certainly do that as well.
Okay.
Additionally, we will post on our social media and anybody who comes in and our website exactly how we want people to park and arrive there. So if there's specific concerns, we're going to make sure people know that. And anybody who comes in, we'll tell them that verbally. So it will be out there front and center how we want people to do it. And then on top of that, certainly for the first days and weeks and months, to the extent necessary, we're going to have one or more parking attendants in the lot and outside to make sure that people are parking and understand where to go. And if that parking attendant sees somebody parking across the street and endangering themselves and to walk across the street, we're going to say, hey, no, you need to come park in here next time you come, even if that means, I don't know exactly how the traffic pattern is going to develop. But if that means moving around, we're going to request that they do that. So we're going to have parking attendants, we're going to work closely with local law enforcement, and we're going to make sure people know exactly how to park and where to stop. And so, yes.
Again, my concern was not the actual parking in the facility. My concern is the roadway, and also the roadway is going to be under construction from the split in Wareham to the Bourne line, and that's going to disrupt that whole area. And I just want to know if you people have taken that into consideration during this proposal as you go forward.
Excuse me, everybody has to deal with that during construction, and if they have it blocked, they're going to have it turn around and come back to go back that way anyway. So I don't see there being a real concern with that. I think it's a much safer spot than what we have in Wareham right now, but that's just my opinion.
I could add a clarification as well, too. Phase 1 of the Cranberry Highway reconstruction stops just before the Jordan Plaza. Phase 2 continues down to the Bourne line, but that is not part of this project construction at this
It's
time.
not that far away,
It's 5 years away.
so, okay, thank you, that answered my question.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Haskell.
you. Appreciate it.
Veronica, it's your turn.
I have a question about security. You said you're going to have 1 or 2 detail officers for parking purposes?
Yeah, if required. As we progress through this process, we will work closely with local law enforcement, and if they want us to hire a detail, like our company has represented others that have opened in the Commonwealth, some of the earliest ones, and we've had to hire detail officers at them. So if that's requested by your chief of police, particularly when we first open up to make sure that everything is operating smoothly and safely, yes, we commit to doing that, absolutely.
Okay, so let me clarify. Actually, I think I wasn't clear on that. You're going to have 2 parking attendants, but that does not mean a detail police.
That's correct. Those would be internal people that work for us that would be in the parking lot moving around. If local law enforcement, and rightfully so, has a concern about parking and traffic and would like us to have, a member of the local law enforcement community that we hire as detail officer at the beginning of opening to make sure that things are running smoothly, and then if they're not, until they do, we're certainly amenable to doing that as well.
Do you know how many other people are renting in that building that you're renting?
Do you know, Rich?
There's a physical therapist, I believe, in there, another health type.
Eye doctor.
Yeah, an eye doctor. I mean, just from driving, I haven't been in the building myself, just by
Air
being
Force
through.
National Guard, the eye
Exactly.
doctor, the physical therapist on the 2nd floor. There's a couple of engineering firms, I believe.
Yes, something to that effect. I could,
Occupational training.
steal something.
Yep.
So, I think, my concern is that you're gonna be sharing this parking lot with these other people occupying the property. So how is that gonna work? Do you have designated spaces for your facility?
So we're on the one side, I believe it's the south side, and so the spaces over there, we believe people will park in, but if you assumed that the whole building was retail, under the bylaw, it's a required 65 spots. The whole building is not retail, but if we assume that it was, we would need 65 spots to operate the whole building as a retail facility. There's 72 right now.
Including you.
Including us. And there's 72 right now. So assuming it was all retail, we still exceed it by 7 spots.
So
Yes.
where does that number come from? Because wouldn't it, this could be my ignorance, but it doesn't pertain to how many people are actually operating businesses out of the building, or is it just square footage of the
Parking
building?
spaces are part of the zoning, and it's described by use, retail as a use.
Retail's,
It's by square footage.
By square footage? Well, that's why I'm asking how many
So total square footage.
are
counts that.
occupying.
You divide the total square footage by was it 250,
300.
300
was
square
for the
feet per
retail.
parking space?
And that's gross square footage of the building itself.
so if we assumed everything was retail in there, which it isn't, and retail's the
Heaviest.
Yeah, the heaviest
Most
use,
intense
the most
use.
intensive use for parking. If we assumed it was all retail, the building itself would need 65 spots based on the zoning calculation, and there are 72 currently, and it's not all retail. So,
I think we should take the example of the other ones. Then, and there's cooperation between the users, the proposed marijuana businesses and the police department and the town. And if there is an overburden, we find that they're gonna have to find other parking locations and remote shuttle service to the site if they demand too much parking.
It's also a landlord-tenant dispute, not a zoning board issue.
You have some notes in here about it's going to be treated like a restaurant when you have people come in. If you have an overabundance of people, though, you'll have a waiting area. And then also your plan addresses when you have people walking up or biking. So is that's obviously interior of your building. I'm just trying to get an idea of how people enter, where they're waiting, what's happening. Is it separate where they're waiting to go into your facility? I know you said you have people are going to be waiting in vehicles as well if they're not on foot.
we don't expect to have that very often, but the goal was not to have people just sort of queuing up outside and sort of meandering around, right? So we have, and there's a floor plan laid out, and if Rich wants to show it, there's a floor plan laid out, but we're gonna have people, so in order to get in at all, you have to show that you're 21. You have to actually show that ID from outside, I'm 21 or over, otherwise I can't get into this spot.
There's gonna be a
period.
bouncer at the front door.
There's gonna be a security agent at the front door.
You don't like
Yes.
to call him a bouncer, right? now. It's
Well,
not
you
a
know,
nightclub, I got it.
we want people to be comfortable, right? But yeah, there's going to be a security agent at the front door who's going to keep it so that only people 21 and over can go in.
We want all our conversations to be on the record, sir.
Yeah, Jerry, would you like to go up to the floor plan?
I'm gonna ask you one more time, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna send you out of the room. Thank you.
Yeah, Jerry, would you like to go
Sorry
up to the
about
floor if you want to explain
I'm
something
sorry.
further? No, that's okay. We just want to make sure that
We wanna
the
make sure
audience
everything that's said is on the
It is
record.
is recorded.
We don't want any private conversations that can't be recorded. No problem. Thank you.
We have a reception area. Customers will come in through this doorway. There's a doorbell camera. So you come in, you show your IDs, they allow you inside. They check your IDs through a scanner.
So the ID check is actually gonna happen indoors. There's like a mudroom, if you will.
Right, so you're gonna show that you have an ID before you come in.
Yeah?
Okay, so if you come up and say, I don't have an ID, we say, I'm sorry, you can't come in. So if you come in, you have your ID, we'll allow you in here, we run through our scanner, make sure it's valid. And then if you're old enough to come in, you'll be allowed to come in. This will be the sales counter here. We'll set up stanchions, just like at a bank, for you to stand and come through. We'll have a specific ADA counter here. We'll also have one of the registers set up for pre-orders. That's going to actually help speed the process along so that people aren't out in the parking lot for a long period of time. We have a program called Sprout. So once you come in, we get you into the system, we get your telephone number, we send you text messages. If you wish to order, you can order through a text message. If you order that and do a pre-order, we have our associates who will get it ready for you. You come in, you show your ID, we make sure it's you, you purchase, and then you can leave.
Just like getting coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
Like getting Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or anybody else.
Or-
You can do
or
pre-orders.
Mary
over your
Lou's
phone.
or,
Okay,
Thanks, Jerry.
and I apologize.
Thank you.
No problem, no problem. I just have to make sure I was being heard. Okay, do you have more questions?
Not at this time, no.
Now that I've heard from the board, is there anybody here in the room this evening that would like to speak either in a favor or in objection to this application? Come forward, please, and state your name and address. There's a microphone over here if you'd like to use this one over here. We want to know who you are and
My name is Ellen Cantor. I'm a physician.
in the microphone, please, ma'am.
My name is Ellen Cantor, Kanter. I'm a physician, and I live within about a mile of your proposed site. So, I'd like to know, what is an adult-use marijuana
Excuse me, ma'am.
establishment?
You're talking to the board, you're not talking to them.
I'm sorry, what is an adult-use marijuana establishment?
We'd like to know what your objections are. We'd like to know if you're in favor or opposed. This isn't a question and answer period. I'll indulge you. An adult-use marijuana establishment is a place that sells marijuana to people over 21.
So there's no usage of the product on the premises?
Again, this isn't question and answer, but if you came up and said, I'd be opposed if they were using it on the premises, we could respond to that, but you're asking
I would
me-
be opposed if they were using it on the
That's
premises.
something they can't do on the facility. They can't walk around with it. You can't do it in your car. You get arrested if you do stuff like that.
Okay,
Any other?
that's very helpful, thank you.
Thank you. It's just that, let me explain why I'm being a little difficult with you. A lot of people come up here and they think that they become a committee of one, and that their objection or their approval has to be satisfied before they leave the microphone. And really what we're inviting you to do is come up here and state your objections or your approval, not become a committee of one that has to be satisfied before you get up. The board will react to your comments.
Okay,
You know, it's a personal thing that I have, that sometimes we let the public get a little too out of hand.
well, I hope I wasn't too rowdy
You're
this
fine,
evening.
ma'am.
Oh, no,
You're
ma'am.
fine.
No, ma'am.
But it was,
I'm saying it for not just for you, for everybody's understanding of why I'm handling it.
but it was helpful to me to have the clarification,
Yeah, it was
since it's
helpful
in
to
my
us, too.
neighborhood.
A lot of people don't, a lot of people think that they're going in there and getting high inside and coming out stoned, getting in their car and driving away. That's not the way it works.
So they'll get stoned in their car.
That's correct, on the way
Okay.
home.
Thank you.
I can't say that they're gonna drive in their car or not, or that they are. I don't know what they're gonna do once they get in their car.
I realize
know-
that was facetious or joking, so yes.
It was all meant in, yeah, in tongue-in-cheek. And I know that you folks can't control what happens once they leave your establishment, but I believe you have guidance that you like to give them.
Absolutely, and, through the chair, part of the information that we give everybody is not to operate machinery, how to store cannabis, not to drive. None of this changes Massachusetts law, the prohibition of driving under the influence, whether it's cannabis or anything else. So that prohibition remains.
I think this gentleman, were you looking to speak, sir?
Yes.
Come on up, give your name and,
My name is John F. Hooton, 58 Bay Point Drive Extension, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts. Contrary to the previous speaker, we are actually at 58, quite close to the site, because we are from Bay Point Village, just to the rear of the tracks behind me.
you're coming from the other side of the tracks.
That's correct. I'm an attorney practicing for more than 40 years in terms of government at the municipal, county, state, and federal level. Currently good standing in Florida and Massachusetts. My primary objection is the location. Ideally, we can't have what we want, but I look at the Salvation Army site, and that services its customers in a very logical, productive way for traffic coming in, traffic going out. I'm not sure what's happening at the site. I know they're going to lose the site. My service in Boston, in terms of planning for the mayor of Boston, I have some experience with dealing back in those days with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. I think we look at this in terms of how well will it work traffic-wise within the community. And my experience in this area recently, asking a colleague about a similar activity being raised or offered in another community in Massachusetts, namely Hyannisport, and the people refused to let it happen. My question to the petitioners is, how many other communities may they have applied for or have applications pending? And if any, what is the result of those proceedings that have gone forward, if there have proceedings that have gone forward?
Again, we're trying to avoid having a question and answer period here, but I'm interpreting that you're curious if this application is going to run multiple similar operations in other municipalities. Is that your curiosity?
I'm asking, they're knowledgeable, I assume, in the area of their client. What's happening in this field in terms of Massachusetts?
You mind responding to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think thank you very much for the question, and through the chair, thank you. If I understood the question, right now, I looked at the Commonwealth's website today at the Cannabis Control Commission, and there are 27 final licenses that are equivalent to this one. We're quite a ways away. I think we talked about 6 months or more before getting final licensure, but there are 27 currently. And so if I understood the question, I think that was it. We currently operate a medical dispensary in Fall River, and we are also seeking adult use at that location. This will not be medical. This is only adult use here. Medical is zoned elsewhere in Wareham. So I hope that answers the question through the chair. If not, please let me know, and I'll do whatever I can.
That's sufficient. Point of interest, I've also served on several boards in this town and been happy to provide time in the past in terms of what the town needs. My objection, again, is the location. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We noted.
Is there anybody else in the room this evening that would like to speak, either in favor or opposed to this application? Hearing none, I move back to the board. Any more questions from the board? Anything that's come to mind from anybody? Okay. If the questions are all answered, I think it would be appropriate for somebody to make a motion, either in favor or against this application.
But you close the hearing first.
Yep. Would anybody like to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing to public.
Do I have a second on the close
A
the hearing?
second.
Moved and seconded to close the hearing to the public. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously is closed. Now I'd be interested in hearing a motion to either approve or deny this application for a special permit to operate an adult use marijuana establishment at 3119 Cranberry Highway.
Second.
Pardon me?
Read it again.
I'm looking for a motion.
I second it.
No,
I'd
I'm
make a
not
motion, I would make a
Make a
motion to
motion.
approve as presented.
Okay, so Jake has made a motion to approve a special permit for 3119 Cranberry Highway to operate an adult-use marijuana establishment to petitioner Nature's Medicines, Inc. It's been seconded by Walter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. You guys did in one evening what the former applicant did in about 6 months.
Thank you, Mr. Eckelbach.
Thank you so much.
It's taken me 6 months in other jurisdictions, but as towns learn more and more about the process, it becomes smoother. So thank you for your leadership also.
Still got a ways to go. Thank you. Still got a ways to stay.
Yeah, but like I told the last one, when they say yes, shut up.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Standard conditions apply, right?
Standard conditions. Standard findings.
Doing one right now. Building a dispensary right now.
Okay. Walter, Bob, I'm doing Walter look an awful lot like Hurry it up. While we're getting this signed, the next one up would have been 3019 George and Gail Rides, 3 Cedar Island Road. They've withdrawn. If you see it on the agenda and wonder why we didn't call them, it's because they've withdrawn. Then we have a continued public hearing coming up, 3318 96 Realty LLC, Fairing Hill Road. Mr. Perry, come up and make yourself comfortable. We'll be with you in a minute as soon as we get that last one
Thank you, sir. I'm comfortable.
in the folder and...
Pen?
And these things here, I guess we...
Just 1 minute.
What was this?
Jim? Lady has a question.
I have a question on the previous one that was withdrawn, my neighbor Gail and George. Did you receive a letter from them?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
This afternoon, I received a letter in my office from them asking to withdraw the application, saying they were going to take the shed away from the front yard and put it into the side yard.
Yes, okay. That's all I wanted.
They're gonna owe you guys a dinner.
No, I think they're probably not gonna be getting together under these
It would have been nice if you would have called me, because I'm the one that put in that permit application.
you don't own the
Oh, shut
property.
up! You're a bitch.
Oh, boy.
You're such a bitch.
Called her for what? Who is she?
She used to own the property. I've been fighting for 5 years to get that shed done.
Okay, well,
Will you give back my $380? Because you
No.
cashed my, oh, shut up!
ma'am, would you like to come forward and identify yourself? I don't know who I'm speaking to and why. And try to be
I'm
calm.
very sorry, but she.
Try to be calm. Sit down, state your name and address for the
And I don't really care
record.
about the application. My name is Karen Bramwell. I'm the one that put in the application because I used to own the home. I sold the home in June 26. I sold the home. I told the people that I would try to keep the shed where it was because it was put there for a reason. And then I asked if they still wanted to buy the house, blah, blah, blah.
Your name
I-
George or Gail
No, I'm
Sisorides?
Karen Bramwell. I don't
Right,
own
the
the house.
application didn't come from you, ma'am.
But I put in one.
I don't know, whatever you put in hasn't been heard yet.
So if they
What-
want to
what we've
withdraw
gotten-
and they're willing to move it to the side yard, then why is mine even in here?
I have no clue. I have no clue.
Can I
It's
get
not
my
in front of this.
$300
it's not-
back then?
It's not in front of this board right now. If you want to go talk to whoever you gave $300 to, talk to them. You didn't give me $300.
I gave the zoning board of appeals, cashed my check
Wherever you did that, go back there.
to the
You
zoning.
didn't do it here.
No, not here, I did it at the zoning board.
She-
Okay, so they want to move the shed, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine with me.
Have a good evening. I'm sorry for your stress.
I'm really stressed. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Is it?
No,
This is not, this one?
this is one.
Okay. She doesn't own the house anymore. I don't even understand the issue, but. Huh? Yeah, I know, well. We can arrange for it to be more exciting.
You should be chairman more often.
I think not. Okay, 1, 2, here's a couple going to my right. Here's 3 going to my left. Sorry, Bob, we'll get to you.
I'm in no hurry.
Was that you that incited all that?
Well, I'm hoping we don't end up worse than that.
Oh, we can't win that. We
No,
can't.
no, that won't happen. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before.
I bring out the best.
Oh, is it you?
I have a unique ability, Bob.
Oh, man.
I have to recuse myself.
You're gonna recuse yourself? You wanna see?
Eric's,
Okay,
stuff.
okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 members available. She's gonna recuse herself. And to save everybody a lot of time, anticipating the need for her to recuse. There's been a fair amount of discussion between myself, the planner, town council, the applicant, on this matter. In order for this matter to pass, it's going to take a four-person vote, four affirmative votes, and we only have four people present. There are opposing opinions. The town's opinion is that you get what you get, and
I saw that email.
take a chance, huh?
I saw that ridiculous email.
You take it, when you got a four-member board and you know it's only going to take one no, you have the option to withdraw and reapply until another board is available, or the board is forced to take a vote. I believe it's the applicant's position that he's entitled to a five-member board.
Absolutely, and I took the liberty of doing a little research on it instead of shooting from the hip as some of the
So,
people may have on this issue.
Before I try to,
Materials for you people.
before I try to belabor that point,
All right,
I'll
I
give-
will sit down, shut up
No, no,
until
no,
you tell
no,
me
no, I
I'm
want to
up.
give you the opportunity to present
okay.
your argument.
Okay, all right.
I'm with you. I'm not agreeing with you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't want to speak for you. I know you had a different,
Just to speak for myself. I brought you one of your
Okay.
It's kind of important this board know the law. So I thought that I should perhaps
yeah, no.
help to bring it before you.
That's why I preempted it, and that's,
Well, I appreciate that. The most famous case that deals with this is the Gamache case, although long before the Gamache case, which I have given you, Gamache, I think it's versus Town of Brewster, the applicant has always been entitled to a full board. It has been the position of all boards of the courts, of everybody, from what I can see. Gamache came along a few years ago and said the board can't morph itself. A five-member board can't suddenly say, we're a four-member board, you've got to go forward. As it turns out, the literature says I could agree to go forward, but I don't have to go forward. I'm entitled to a five-member board because you are a five-member board. That's what the town of Wareham decided under the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act permits either a three-member board or a five-member board. Now, I've given you some materials here, and they make it pretty clear that you have to give me a five-member board, and I don't have to withdraw and wait to get a five-member board. And I don't have to concede and go forward with a four-member board. I am entitled tonight to a five-member board to hear my petition, and yes, I have to have 4 out of the 5 votes. I mean, that's statutory, that's all there is to it. So I am insisting on a five-member board.
so, as the applicant, you're saying, you've done your research, you believe you're entitled to a full five-member board, of 5 voting members present, and if we turn to you and say, we'd like to continue, you're going to,
If you force me to go forward, it'd be over my objection.
pardon me?
If I were forced to go forward tonight with a 4-member board,
Huh?
it would be over my objection.
You object to us going
If you
forward.
look at like the 3rd page of what I've given you,
Are you willing to continue until 2 weeks from now?
I've been coming here since last October. Another 2 months, I will have been coming here on this matter for a full year. And last time around, I was very generous with this board. Mm-hmm. Fine, put it over, do what you want, and I always have been, 45 years I've been. And I've always found it to be a pleasure. I really feel that this case, it's time for it to come to conclusion. I feel I'm entitled to a 5-member board. I have no intention of waiving time at this point. Now, if I were here and strictly on this petition, which is a replacement petition, and I'd been here for my 103 days, I think it is, I'd probably say, sure, I always have. I've always in 45 years, waived time when the board felt that they needed me to waive time. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to this time, and I apologize for that, to you, Mr. Chairman, to everybody on this board. But I
Anybody on the
feel
board
that,
understand Mr. Perry's position? Bob?
I'm a little in the dark on this, be quite
Okay.
frank with you.
Okay. Help me along with this. I'm going to try to clarify it for everybody, but if I
All right, I will.
So Bob, here's the situation. Mr. Perry represents a client. He came in here looking for is it a variance or a special permit we're on?
Originally, I came in here before this board looking to overturn the decision of the building inspector. And I told this board over and over again, I had absolutely no doubt in my mind, based on my experience and my honesty with this board over the years, that this was a grandfathered lot. Our building commissioner at the time didn't agree, and his reason made no sense whatsoever. He didn't agree because GAF Engineering, when they did a plan of this overall piece of land, don't hold me to the numbers, but approximately 18 acres on one side of Squirrel Island Road, 33,000 square feet on the other side. They had by law to show the entire parcel on any plan they drew. So building commissioner says, oh, well, since you showed it on a plan and now you're calling it grandfather, you've changed the whole deal. You changed lot lines is what you did, because you had a lot line along Blackmore Pond Road. You had a lot line on the east side of Squirrel Island Road, and now you want us to look at the lot line only on the west side of Squirrel Island Road, and that made no sense whatsoever. So I came before this board. The board didn't want to overturn the building inspector. Town council came back with an opinion, say, oh, well, they changed the lot line. Well, made no more sense than what town council was told by by the building commissioner. But I lived with that, and I said, look, guys, if you don't agree, all my years, I've probably only come before this board with a few cases where a variance was really in order. And generally the problem, as all of you know, and incidentally, I'm not taking my position because of any of you. I have nothing but the greatest respect for all of you, particularly since you do the kinds of things I used to do, which is come here and spend your evenings helping the town out. But usually the problem is a hardship with what? Shape, topography, soil conditions that are characteristic of that lot, not generally within the neighborhood. And this one is. This lot is 33,000 square feet because of the shape of the lot. It's a triangular lot. We're at a rectangular lot, like all of the other lots up and down Ferringhill Road, like most of the lots in that zoning district, the MR60 zoning district. It would, in fact, by being rectangular, be 66,000 square feet. Well, 60,000 is all that's required. So the hardship is because of the shape of the lot. We don't often really have that type of a situation. We do here. So I don't have any question, once again, this lot would be entitled to a variance. There's no downside, there's no derogation from the intent of the bylaw. Other than the new lots, like the ones that I did, the one Veronica's on that my client did, that are 60,000 square feet, the bulk of the lots in our district are 30,000 and less. There's some very small ones, as a matter of fact. So, the requirements for a variance are absolutely there in the case of this lot. The board didn't act the last time around.
You get where he's going, Bob?
You understand I don't mean to get off track here.
No, but I just want to...
I might be, but...
I'm trying to get Bob up to speed, and I want to make sure he's getting what
let me try to answer his question.
How we've come to be here tonight, how we've come to this. Okay. We're up against a deadline. If we don't make a decision this evening, okay, then this application is going to be granted by, what do they call it, prescription? Constructive.
Deemed granted.
Deemed granted.
Okay.
So,
and once again, I wouldn't do that, Bob, if I hadn't been here for months and months and months and complied with every request of this board, before you were on the board, quite honestly.
You just answered my next question.
Okay.
I'm new to this, okay?
You are, I agree.
I have looked at this property. I don't know anything about it, only what I've read. And I'd like to know what the abutters feel about this piece of property.
That's Veronica.
I can't do that here.
well, wait a minute. We got people in the room. We haven't opened it up to let the abutters come up and speak yet, but...
Let's do that.
Any other questions from the board?
Mine is, because I've only been here a short time too, but from the time he's talking is, I see quite a few names here, but the reasoning is why don't we, I have a question for us, is why didn't we have enough Is it a conflict of interest?
Want to use the microphone better?
Is it a conflict of interest because we have people on the board that have to recluse themselves from this project, and we don't have enough board members?
Veronica's recused herself.
But is there anybody else?
Every time he's come, there's always been
Somebody who
not
can't-
a member. We haven't had a big enough board.
James out tonight, I thought you were gonna be here.
It's
Jake-
he really has every time.
Was out last time.
Jake was not sworn back in for a couple of meetings, so he couldn't be here. So, not the applicant's fault, but
He's come here and left.
time
and
the
spent
applicant
minutes.
has come before this board, there has not, I don't believe there has once been a five-member board.
I would have gone forward. I'd have had to go
There has
forward.
not once been a five-member board.
Well,
And there's a
I've been
per-
on
there's
it
a period
since
of
we
time from this-
spoke, and there's been 5, but we've had to recluse ourselves, so that
Five
doesn't
members who
count.
can sit.
Right.
5 members can sit.
We've had 6, and 2 people had to recluse,
Well,
I
we could
think,
say there's
so-
20 people in the room, but there's still only 4 voters.
Right.
Okay? So what we're talking about is the number of voting members present. We're not talking about how many people are in the room. We're not talking about how many members are present. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members present, but we only have 4 voting members
votes.
here tonight. And this has been the case every single time this applicant has come in front of this board.
Well, okay. This has been the case on a lot of things coming up board that we
Before
haven't had enough,
before your
so-
membership and during your
Right.
membership, this has been the case.
If I
So-
may, just Walter,
Well, it's people
real quick,
committing,
if I
people
may, you had
committing.
similar problems.
Could this be heard
Prior
by
board before you
another
came aboard.
town? Could you
Pardon
have
me?
an
Had
auxiliary
similar
board?
problem with the prior board. The last time I came here on the
Selectmen?
prior application,
Couldn't vote on this, so he's
is the
gonna
night
get it
that
anyway.
No.
Carl Baptiste said, oh, I'm all done, I'm not coming back.
That's what I'm confused.
Did us in.
So Walter, to address your concern and your thoughts, that's why the board is comprised of 5 full members and 2 associates, with the hope that if any 2 members can't be present, there's still 5 available. And again, not the applicant's cause or fault. Every single time he's come forward, there have not been 5 people here available to vote. His contention is that he's entitled to, and he brings, which we haven't had a chance to really fully review, his contention is that he's absolutely entitled to those 5 members. I repeat myself, the town's contention is, if there's not 5 members present, then he's got to take his chances with the 4 that are here. If the 4 that are here vote in favor, he's good. If the 4 that are here have 1 dissenting vote, the motion fails. I believe we can condition a fail or a vote to be with or without prejudice. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% clear. If we have a failed vote, is it automatically with prejudice or is it automatically without prejudice?
I think honestly, that's up to you guys.
I think, well.
I think it is.
I
I mean,
think
I've
there
been
is a-
through that one in the
there is a-
past.
there is a-
But
there is a-
may I say something?
Yeah.
Because you've now for the second time said it's the town's position.
When I say the town council,
I prefer to hear that, because if you recall, any members who were here at any of the 3 prior hearings, the chairman of this board each time called this case very promptly, and I thank him for that. He's not here for me to thank him tonight, but it got me out of here.
Yep.
Because his position was, you're entitled to a 5-member board. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if I can use this as a, as an authority, but, you know, I talked to Lenny Bell about this. He spent 7 years on this board. And Lenny says, absolutely, you're entitled to a 5-member board. We always have taken that position, and that's my position on this case of yours and any other case.
I've personally been convinced that no matter what decision this board makes tonight, that decision could be challenged on the basis of the lack of 5 members. Whether I'm correct or incorrect, town council and I may disagree, you and town council, I don't know who's right. What I do know is that some very good advice was given to me one time many years ago, and that's when you get in a legal argument and you bring in expert witnesses, you can have 2 experts that don't agree.
That's what I do for a living. I know, I do it all the
So,
time.
so it's a kind of a, instead of a win-win situation, it's an automatic, somebody's got to, so there we are. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody on the board understands, or the 4 members that are here to vote this evening, understand that if we insist on going forward and making a motion and either passing or denying this, if we pass it, he leaves here happy. If we deny it, he leaves here with the ability to challenge our decision, and it continues anyway. If we continue it, it passes by,
Default's a good enough
by
word.
default is the word.
Deemed,
It's called constructive easement.
Constructive easement.
Constructive appeal, constructive variance, So I'm just trying to give everybody on the board the opportunity to understand and comment before we take any action.
I have a suggestion.
Go ahead.
Why don't you talk about the merits of the case? Now that you've, I think you've gone over the voting.
Does everybody understand where we sit? Bob, do you get it now?
I do.
Okay.
I'm happy prior to hearing to, go through my package with you and talk about the merits of the case. And
I just wanted to make
I
sure
wouldn't have
that,
a problem with the polling of the board either.
yeah, I just
I have
wanted to
nothing
make
against any member of the board at all. It's just, I've been going on too long on this thing. I was asked on my prior petition to, when Cal quit, the night Cal quit, well, try to use the time standards. And I said, they're not appropriate. I'm past the time standards. But I did it in a spirit of cooperation with this board. And
No, Bob,
once
I
again, this board
understand
is
it.
not this board anymore. I think we got one member who's here then.
That's correct.
Tell me
So,
what you want me to do.
with the planner's recommendation, which I agree with, I think we should discuss the merits
All right,
of the application.
I have no
And
problem with
usually
that.
usually that begins with you.
It does, it does.
So,
And
you're
each
on.
of you, I believe, have my package.
just before I set you,
Yes, sir.
You okay? You got where we are, Jake?
Yes.
Walter, you
Yep.
got where we are? Bob?
Yes.
Okay, Veronica, you recuse. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
All right, and I'm going to kind of, this thing's been going on so long, I'm going to be probably a little slow and disjointed because I'm going to have to look at my own package as I go. Originally, as I said, and it wasn't up to us, August 2nd, 2018, it's over a year ago now, I originally filed a petition before this board. And I'm still waiting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Perry, I could not hear what you...
I'm sorry. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's
Bob?
fine, thank you.
Okay. See, I can't hear anything, so I assume everybody else can hear fine.
Gone.
Okay. August the 2nd, 2018, I filed my original petition on this lot. And as I said, that was a petition seeking dual relief. Overturn the decision of the building commissioner, or in the alternative, grant a variance. And the petition was properly advertised the way I would have expected it to be. And I came before this board and I began my presentation. And it was continued and continued and continued by the board. This deals with a lot that on the plan I've presented to you, and I don't know if you need to look at it, but we call it Lot A. And it has 31,433 square feet. There are 237.6 feet of frontage on Faring Hill Road, 347.06 feet of frontage on Squirrel Island Road. The zoning bylaw requires 60,000 square feet, only requires 180 feet of frontage. So, I mean, we could use either road, and we're fine on frontage. It's a lot whereby all required setbacks can be met with no problem whatsoever. The only issue with this lot is 31,433 square feet versus 60,000 square feet. It's a part of a larger lot. It's a part of lot 1009, and I think it's on map 1000, doesn't matter which map. But it was a big parcel. It came out of originally the Handy estate, and just by way of a little history, and I don't want to take everybody's time, but I think you ought to have a little history here. In the 1800s, everything on both sides of Squirrel Island Road and on the north side of Faring Hill Road, as well as to the south side, were owned by one group of people. There were about 3 principals and then some minor people. Something happened, they had a battle. I couldn't tell you what the battle was, I don't believe I was there. But they split up the land. And if you look at your assessors maps, basically what they did is they struck a straight line from the north side of Ferring Hill Road all the way down between property that I own or owned on the, basically most of it on the west side of Squirrel Island Road, separating the land on the east side of Squirrel Island Road from that piece. And basically what happened is the property on the east side of Squirrel Island Road, with the exception of this lot, went to the Handys. The property on the west side of the road went to the Shirtlifts. And a gentleman who was really big into property here in the town of Wareham, a fellow named Humphreys, was the one who got out. I think he was probably the problem, but I can't prove that, and it doesn't make a lot of difference. He was gone after that. So we had Handy, we had Shirtlifts. Shirtlifts, the property went to Mr. Shirtlifts' heirs, which were mostly girls, a couple of guys, and ultimately what was left that hadn't already been conveyed out and built upon went to me. On the east side, this property, Handy's went to ultimately Papa George's wife, who predeceased him, left it to him. He left it to his nephew when he died, and his nephew sold it to 96 Realty LLC. And that's how title gets into their names. So from the 1800s, on the west side of Squirrel Island Road, the side toward County Road, there has been no property owned by any owners of this lot that could have been combined with this lot to make it a larger lot. It's what it was. It was isolated by Ferring Hill Road and by Squirrel Island Road and by land that came out of the Shirtliff estate on the west side. So it's what it is. That's all there is to it. By nature, it became what it was. It remains what it was. It's never been changed. I have given you as part of my package, without, asking you to look at it right this minute, because I think I'm just telling you what I would be presenting, proof back to, I think it's 1909, that Squirrel Island Road was in existence. I've given you the maps done by a county engineer. I have given you assessors records going up and down Ferring Hill Road only. I haven't gone the whole zoning district, because it's a big zoning district, and it's separated by, it's not all together anyway. But the bulk of what we're concerned with is on Ferring Hill Road and Squirrel Island Road. And I've given you the assessors records that show that, without getting the exact number, 50-something% of the lots are smaller than this lot, because they're older. They're old lots. The 60,000 square foot zoning is relatively new. The bulk of the lots that are bigger than this lot come about for two reasons. One is you got a couple of farms, okay, and they're bigger. There's the Ashley Cranberry Bogs. There's on the other side of Ferring Hill Road, land that now is owned by 96 Realty, that was one of the Handy farms. But other than that, the lots that are bigger than this lot are the new lots that were developed by 96 on Squirrel Island Road, by me on Squirrel Island Road, by 96 on Blackmore Pond Road, I don't give you those here, and by another developer, and I think it was Long, up at the corner of County Road and Squirrel Island Road. And they're all 60,000 square feet, or a little bit more, not much more, because that's a pretty big lot. I think all of you know what the criteria for a variance is, but I have to prove to you that owing to circumstances relating to the land, but not generally in the zoning district, that deal with the soil conditions, the topography, both of which are out here. I'm not talking about soil conditions or topography, or the shape. There's a hardship imposed upon this lot. And under current law, that hardship can be almost anything. The law, years ago, the law didn't permit it to be an economic hardship. Now it is. Clearly, if this lot isn't usable as a residential lot, there's an economic hardship. So that's a no-brainer. What I have presented to you is that the lots within the zoning district are, generally speaking, rectangular. Whether they're squares or they're rectangular. They're rectangular. They're four-sided lots. That means they're different than this lot, because this lot is a triangular lot. And this lot, as I said earlier, having 31,433 square feet, would in fact, if it were rectangular, have double that area. Pretty simple. The area of a triangle is 1/2 the base by the height. And that comes to, that gets doubled if you're looking at a rectangle because it's the base times the height. So clearly, it would just simply be 62,866 square feet, which would exceed the requisite zoning.
I have a question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
While you're talking, something came to my mind. Something in the bylaws, I'm sorry, I can't put my finger on it right now, says that you gotta be able to take, I think it's the lot frontage,
Lot shape factor?
pardon me, the circle that gets drawn.
Lot shape factor, section 615.
Section, see, look at that, man.
I tell you, he's sharp. I give him all the credit. I try to reach him all the time to get an opinion. He's a
Draw a
brains.
circle by section, if we needed to draw that circle according to 615, could we draw it on this triangle? You know how they want to draw a circle with the diameter being the frontage of the lot? You know. Frontage
Let me
requirement
look at my
is-
own plan. I'm pretty sure you can. I mean, I've got,
You get my you,
I understand your que- I don't think it's applicable, but I understand your question, and I've got 237 one way and 347 the other way. Very difficult to believe I can't draw a 180-foot circle in that.
the required frontage is what?
180.
180, so.
So
if
my
we had a-
circle has to have a diameter of 180 if you held me to that. I don't think that's applicable, but
We could draw that circle on this
I don't
lot.
see why you can't.
Okay, just curious,
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't even know where the plan is right this minute, but you guys have it. You probably have my package in better shape than I do.
That's all right.
Well, you do, because, I mean, you do better filing than I do. You're a better clerk than I got. Very, very hard to believe you can't. Very hard to believe, Jim.
Could you bring that plan forward?
Yeah, just hang on with you guys. Each of you should have it, but I'll bring it up.
I doubt it very
That kind
much.
of frontage on both roads.
There's an upland zoning circle
Right there.
right here.
You're not fitting that.
It's already drawn?
It's already drawn on one of the other lots.
It's already drawn. Yeah.
On this lot. This is the lot that he wants to get the,
Oh, okay.
the one that says not a buildable lot.
Okay, parcel A. Okay, I see you.
That was the easement given up for the road?
Right.
Is that what they're saying?
I'm sorry.
Was that given up for this road? Is that what that was part of this lot?
This was,
Initially, see all of this land here? This is the entire lot that went to 96 Realty. This is Squirrel Island Road. Everything here is on the east side. This is on the west side. That's what makes this a grandfathered lot, as far as it's been separated from this since the 1800s. This is a straight line. Yeah, it is, that's a straight line, right? That they struck way over here. All of this land on this side ultimately was part of this huge tract. And everything over here was from this line that way. Ended up in the land.
now, see, what's happened here is there's this parcel of land that was subdivided, and he's taken the road and used that as an historic line of demarcation of the lot. But it doesn't necessarily, roads run through lots all the time, and they don't necessarily define the lot. That's why this was one lot before, before this plan in
I'm sorry, Ken, but that doesn't make an awful lot of sense.
2018 was
Doesn't
created.
make an awful lot of sense. I mean, to be.
So that, we're trying to get this lot as a separate lot.
This is the one we're talking about.
Hindsight would have been,
If you look in your package,
but it's not buildable, I'm saying.
When it was
Because of
created,
size-wise.
Well, that's what we put down, that's right.
Right.
I had the engineer put that on this plan, because that's what I have to do, okay? And then I come to this board.
Hindsight would have been when they did the road to make sure they kept it more to this lot, so they wouldn't have had an issue with that.
No. They didn't do the road, that's why Ken's
The road-
argument doesn't make any sense at all.
road predates-
The road has been there
predates
since
the
the
land.
1800s. I brought you back in your package to 1909 on the road. Zoning didn't come into effect until, what, 51, 53?
51,
actually.
51.
51 started, 51 completed. Doesn't matter which date, because I've got that road there 50 years
Pre-existing there
before that,
before.
yeah. So,
now,
Who owns the road? Who owns?
well, there's a
Whoever
matter of
owns-
fact,
whoever
if you
owns both
want-
sides of
may
the-
I answer what- If you want to get into it, I think the road is a public way. And I have pushed that. I think that's a public way. You just came in and did the super job they did on that road. What happened, and I can't give you the exact.
He's not getting you on the microphone.
Okay, let me sit back.
Thank you.
Okay, well, to answer your question as to who owns the road, in colonial times and up through, I think it might be in 1850-something, all roads within a town were public ways. That was the law. Then what happened in the 1800s, and I think it was in the 1850s, but don't hold me to the date, okay? I haven't looked at that one for a while. The legislature saw fit to pass a statute because there was a burden on the towns with so many public ways, they couldn't maintain them all. So the legislature passed a statute and said, well, the town can, by doing certain things, discontinue public ways. And the town of Wareham didn't do anything. There was no response. And so my position is all of the old public ways in town remain public ways. Now, you know, it doesn't make an awful lot of difference, though, bottom line, because it's a way that's been in existence. It's a way that satisfies the Form A statute before the planning board, and it's a way that I think this board has to respect. It's been there, and once again, for purposes of this, I only went back to 1909. I've gone back before on that road until, you know, in the 1800s. But all that counts is that I precede zoning. And once again, we can argue if it's 51 or 53, doesn't matter if you're talking 1909. So, does that answer your question? Because I like it, okay. I appreciate that, Bob, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead.
One of the premises that's being presented here is that a road automatically creates a lot line. And in fact, it does not in these old ways. A road can run through a parcel of land, and these ancient ways were essentially driveways cutting through land. It didn't necessarily create a lot line. The lot line was created, shown on that plan, to create that parcel last year. And so it's a self-created hardship of an undersized lot.
Okay.
That's why I came before this board August 2nd of 2018, because that's the position
That's the position.
that building commissioner took. It's a position that makes no sense. And I'll tell you why it makes no sense. If I came to any board and I said, look, and let me talk to the frontage issue first. Let's say I had not enough frontage. I had 100 feet and I need 180. And I said, listen, Jake, I got 100 feet on the east side of Squirrel Island Road, but I can give you another 80 on the west side of Squirrel Island Road to have 180. Would you approve that lot? Of course you wouldn't. You'd say, Perry, you're an idiot. Building commissioner felt you could do that with area. And, you know, you can't do it with area, you can't do it with frontage. In fact, there's plenty of case law that says if you're on one side of the road and you got 100 feet here and you got a gap because somebody else has a lot, but you got 80 feet down there, you can't call that 180-foot frontage.
They were 180 feet contiguous.
It's got to be contiguous, just like your land's got to be contiguous. And as far as saying that a road in existence doesn't form a lot line makes absolutely no sense.
So,
Any other questions?
yeah, I have questions. The remainder of this entire parcel. I'm drawing it out here before I ask the question, so
Okay.
I make sure I'm looking, make sure I'm asking the right question. Does it go out, does the piece across the street go out and touch Blackmore Pond Road?
I'm sorry, Jim, I was
I outlined
wetting my
it- I
whistle.
outlined it in blue here. Did I have it right?
May I come up?
Yeah, come on up. All this blue, is this the remainder of that?
This is the whole original lot.
That's the whole original lot. That's,
Well, it's the whole original lot conveyed by Captain George's nephew to 96. Yes.
okay. Okay, so that's what I wanted to understand. Now, to further my question, that whole remaining that I've outlined in blue here, has that been divided up into other lots or proposed lots?
All but one small part across the street from my house,
Okay.
okay?
And have any of those lots been sold and subdivided off?
All of them.
Okay, so the only thing
One of them is
that's-
Veronica's. Next door, they're building a new house right now. Out on Ferry Hill Road they did, and all along Blackmore they did.
all this that I outlined in blue that we just looked
Yeah.
at, that's all been sold off?
With the exception of, I don't know where I live. That's because I can't see.
That's all right.
I know. I
Seems
live down
overrated.
here. Across from me, right in here,
Okay,
hasn't been sold.
okay.
Honestly, it's in the plan.
But you couldn't go across Squirrel Island Road and chop off 33,000?
Of course you would.
Because it's got a house on it. It's got a house on it.
Yeah, you just can't do that. The law doesn't provide for it. Common sense doesn't provide for it.
Well, sometimes common sense goes out the window.
Well, never mind. I'll shut up.
You want to see this? Please. Sure. But you understand that what I outlined in blue now has been divided. Matter of fact, I guess Veronica owns a piece of,
That's not right.
It's not right.
No, the blue, I own right here. This was all an entire piece, the whole.
Yeah, that's what I
thing.
said. That's the entire piece.
No, but he outlined in blue, doesn't include my lot. It should.
Oh, okay,
The line should be here, the whole thing
okay.
was subdivided.
she's saying, excuse me, she's saying my line should continue up along here.
Yeah, it should include all of those lots and this. It was all an entire parcel.
She's saying it should be.
Oh, I agree.
So people could build
Okay.
houses.
Let me put that in.
It's not big enough. So if we
Was like
approve
that.
this, it'll-
Just trying to give everybody the complete.
I got you.
18 something.
Does anybody else from the board have any other questions while Bob's looking at that plan? Okay. I'm pretty sure we have folks present this evening that want to speak on this matter. So is there anybody here that either in favor or opposed to this application that would like to come up? Come on up, sir. State your name and whether you're in favor or opposed and your reasons there of your position.
My name is Eric Galintel. I live at 15 Squirrel Island Road. I am an abutter to the subject at hand here. I enjoyed the history lesson. First, if I may give out a little bit of information. This is from the town attorney, and maybe you've seen this in relation to the voting aspect. I brought the question to some selectmen for advice and information, and this was a response, which I think at least pertains to the voting issue here that was discussed, I think, very thoroughly thank you this evening. And let me, excuse me, I'm gonna have you. I have some fairly accurate map, the parcel, that land in question, some photographs, images of the site.
Thank you.
This is information I have also emailed to the committee earlier, and I also thank you for finally being able to speak to this at hand. It's not a, what was it, a heart, what did you call it? It's a
Hardship, I think, is that?
It's not a hardship. It's a hazard, what's being proposed here on this corner lot. First and foremost, the lot does not meet the building or grandfather requirements. Zoning laws were put into place for a reason a while back. It's history. That stuff, it doesn't pertain to protect the residents, to protect the people, or anything about it. It's, the zoning laws were put in here for a purpose. This was deemed unbuildable for those reasons. It's a triangular-shaped lot at the corner of Faring Hill and Squirrel Island Road, which in itself becomes problematic. If you've ever gone there, you have to walk around and see this. There is a beautiful new home that's now when this parcel was split, it's almost finished. It's right next to Veronica's home, right across from mine. It's a beautiful home. So the whole lot, it's very problematic, especially with the congestion. There's electrical ground connections there. There's numerous utility poles. It's extremely dangerous trying to turn onto Squirrel Island Road coming west off of Faring Hill Road. And what I'm getting at is, if this lot, like Bob, was down the road on Rectangle, there wouldn't be no issue here. But this is the worst place that anything could be going up. It's extremely dangerous. Adding to the congestion at this intersection, all the mailboxes for all the residents on Squirrel Island Road are at this intersection, along with being the school bus pickup and drop off. The buses there, that right there at that intersection is jammed all the time, especially during the school year. And it's only going to be getting worse because now we have a new house, they will have children. The other lots were down the road that are going to be parceled off and built on, more homes, more children, more congestion. Also adding to the congestion, the map does not show where the driveways for lot 1001 and lot 10092 converge at the intersection. The drive for lot 10091, which you can see on the map, intersects, and it's marked, intersects smack in the middle of the intersection, and the drive for lot 10092 is less than 40 feet away. And now we're going to have this other new home whose driveway is just a little bit more than that. It's a hazardous, congested situation. Along with this lot being proposed, if Mr. Ahern is still the owner, I'll just say the owner of the land is already building, well, he's already building on lot 109-9 parcel A. And you're talking about that circle. You can see on my map, it shows an upland zoning circle. The 180 foot you're talking about. That circle does not fit on that triangular lot. Anyhow, more houses are going to be proposed to be built there. The residents on Squirrel Island Road have no problem with homes being built with all the proper zoning laws. Trying to shoehorn in a house at this intersection does not meet the zoning requirements and affects all the residents on Squirrel Island Road and should not be permitted to go forward. That's my statement.
That's your statement. Well, sir, you took your time and you did your research and you presented it well and you presented it the way I asked the former person to do it instead of becoming a committee of one and...
Well, I appreciate the hard work you all do.
I appreciate your efforts too. So, thank you for your comments. Does the board have any questions of this gentleman before we send him back to his seat? Bob, Veronica?
No.
Walter, Jakes? Okay. Thank you for your time, sir. Well said, well presented.
Thank you.
Veronica has recused herself as a voting member because she obviously, I see her name on the plan here, owns the parcel directly across the street. As a, not as a board member, but as a interested party, do you have any comment or wish to comment?
I do. I would like to. Do you
I'm-
want me to
I'm-
go over there?
I'd
so I'm
I'd
not
ask
sitting
you to
in
get up and walk and stand on the other side of the table while you make your comments, just, it's kind of silly and, but, you know, I don't think, just because you volunteer your time, I don't think you should be denied the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and
And just for the record, it's Veronica,
Veronica Debonese, and I live at 4 Squirrel Island Road, which is abutting this property.
thank you.
This parcel that's across the street from me, when I purchased my lot, Mr. Ahern had subdivided parts of land, and the property that was across the street from me was actually attached to the lot that's to the left of me. And I think, as Mr. Buckland was saying, was that it wasn't divided until recently to become a separate parcel. That little triangular area was actually the whole, it was connected. So the parcel to the left of me, I was approached by Mr. Ahern, and we had talked about possibly, my husband and I had talked about possibly purchasing that lot. And we didn't. And one of the reasons that we didn't really look too much at it was that when GAF had done the engineering on these areas, that was not a buildable lot to the left of me unless it included the property across the street. And I had said that to Mr. Ahern because when he sold me my lot, he told me he couldn't separate that lot, that piece, because the property to the left of me didn't have the frontage. It was 128 feet. I looked at my old map when a couple meetings ago. It was 128 feet of frontage. And it needed the triangle across the street because the triangle across the street had all the frontage to make it buildable on the left, but he wasn't willing to sell both like that as one. So I don't know how the house that's existing now to the left of me got passed because it didn't become before this board, but I didn't purchase it because it didn't have the frontage. However, there is a house under construction. So I'm fine with the house being there, but my feeling is that, okay, that house is there, but this would be a shame to have that piece that's across the street that it really should have had with it to have the accurate frontage to now also have a house go on it. And I know I don't have any documents to show, but if you look at the maps that GAF had given originally back in 2014, I think I have, or 2011 when I first purchased it, that frontage on the lot to the left of me was 128 feet. And that is not the requirement, and now there is a house there. So I feel like the house, the property across the street should still be considered part of that lot. That's why it was divided that way, because it didn't have the frontage to have a house on it alone. And that's basically all I have.
That's your position?
That's my position, yes.
And that's what you have to say about that.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your input. Okay, so Jake, Walter, Bob, we have a decision to make here. We could talk about this forever. We could let Mr. Perry talk until he runs out of breath. But I'm sorry, I forgot the gentleman. What's your first name, sir?
Eric.
What Eric brought forward, sorry to be so informal with you, but what Eric brought forward here and handed to us, this is a quote from Attorney Bowen, pretty much gives us a roadmap of what we're going to do next, I would say. So any 3 members of this board could easily vote a denial. A 4-member board would have to, the 4-member board that's here would have to unanimously vote an approval. The other thing we could do would be vote a deny without prejudice, which would allow the applicant to come back if he so chooses to further invest in Mr. Perry's time. But under any decision we make, under any circumstance, I believe whatever decision we make this evening, the applicant's not going away. So I'd like to hear from somebody on the board what you guys think you'd like to do.
Can I just say one last thing?
You sure you can?
I don't know of anything in the law that would permit this board to vote over my objection to deny without prejudice. Maybe I'm wrong. It's a new one on me.
Well, if somebody makes a motion to deny, it's going to take 3 votes to deny, I think is the point. If
Well, I mean, that's the reverse of what the law is. I mean, there's nothing in the law that says it takes 3 votes to deny. What the law says is it takes 4 votes to approve. There's a big difference. We're trying to take the law and twist it.
Okay, so we could, but I guess somebody could make a motion to approve, but if it doesn't pass, then it's a denial.
That's what, well, that's exactly, but the, okay.
Okay, so,
There's nothing in the statute that says
yeah, I get it, the way he's
the way he's written it. Exactly,
written it. I
exactly.
got it.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I think,
That's what I talk about when I talk about shooting from the hip.
So what's this from then?
so, I guess I'm asking the board for, first of all, do we need to belabor this with the public? Can we close the public hearing?
Well, well, if I understand correctly, I told you what my presentation would be on the basis that you are polling the board.
I am
Correct?
polling the board.
Okay, all right. I'll shut up until I know I understand what you're doing.
Do you
I'm
guys
sorry,
wish to
Jim.
close the public hearing, or do you want to keep it open? Do you want to,
Close the public hearing.
Yeah, I motion to close it.
you want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, so the motion's been made and by Walter and seconded by Jake to close the public hearing, which, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that passes unanimously. So the public hearing is closed, which now brings the board to the point where we need to make a decision. So we either need to make a motion to approve or to deny this application.
Well, is your position that I have been forced to go forward with a 4-member board? I did not agree to that.
I understand you didn't agree with it, and if we're going forward against your objections.
Okay, all right, as long as that's on the record.
So if I understand this right, the denial could be voted on just by 3 members.
Well,
That's what you're saying. We only have 4 members total to vote.
I think that,
It has to be unanimous of all 4 members here saying that they approve it for it to be approved.
take, 3 can
I'm
disapprove
more
it,
on the denial
4
of
can
this.
approve it. So if somebody makes a motion to approve this and it doesn't fly, it's denied. If somebody makes a motion to deny, which is certainly your prerogative, then that has to be voted on. It's going to take 3 votes to deny this application.
Or just,
It's going to take a unanimous, it's going to
for the
take
constructive
a
approval.
majority to deny, it's going to take a unanimous 4 to approve. You get that, Bob?
I got you.
Yeah, I've been listening to this, but I'm still,
So
I don't know.
the clock is ticking and our back has been backed up against the wall. We can't tell this man that he has to keep coming back. Against his objections, we're going forward. And
I would make a motion to approve.
you make a motion. Do I have a second on that motion? You second it, Walter? Doesn't mean you have to vote in favor of it. It just means you have to.
I second it.
Okay, so it's been moved to approve by Jake, seconded by Walter. All in favor say aye. Opposed? I'm getting, abstained?
Abstain.
I'm going to abstain on this.
I'm going to abstain.
Good enough for me.
Okay, we got.
Board
what are you
failed to
doing,
act.
Jake? Are you abstaining?
The vote's in.
Thought I already gave my,
You made a motion to approve?
Yes.
We got 2 abstentions. I'll abstain as well. We've got a motion to approve and 3 abstentions. It doesn't carry.
That's correct, the board failed to act.
Correct.
Thank you very
the
much.
board did act, it just did not
Ken, I know what side you're on. The board didn't act.
I think it's closed. Thank you.
I mean, I know where we're going. I will submit my papers, and you will nix them, and we'll end up in court.
Already got one letter, send another one.
So,
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you for your time. How do you spell abstain?
Paperwork.
A-B-S-T-A-I-N?
No.
Okay.
I think it's better
They
to
say
go
you
through
spelled-
land court on that one.
If they say you spelled it wrong, you
make the
can tell them I
decision.
told you.
Well, it's on the record, so they know what I mean. I use spell check too. Spell check has a good time with me.
Thanks.
A-B-S-T-A.
Bob, you want to sign that? And behind your name, write the word abstain. You can copy the spelling from mine. So we can either all be wrong
okay.
or all be right.
Yep.
Spell it right.
Many of you know how to spell squirrel.
Squirrel? That's a,
Yeah, it's 2 hours.
that's a squirrely one. That's one. That's a,
Spell check.
oh, she spell checked it. I think we're good.
I took spell check off my phone. Yep.
B-O-B, or R-O-B-E-R-T.
Said the wrong word sometimes. That adaptive
No, excuse me. You don't do it.
Go to the word
Can I
used
get their
closest.
signatures for
I
me?
got in trouble with that one.
Sorry.
I'm bring my
James is
pen
home.
next time.
That's okay. We'll get them in there. It's okay.
Where are we signing? All of them? I usually have mine. I didn't,
I didn't talk to anybody. No. And he's gonna bring it to court anyway.
yeah. I think you have to put approved.
Okay, any other business discussions is next on the agenda this evening. 20-19 Coastal Cultivators, 0 Patterson Brook Road.
Not done.
They were scheduled for a public hearing. They've asked for a continuance. It's been granted. After that, discussion of zoning articles before the planning board. And we have a stapled piece of paper here with a whole bunch of stuff that we want to go through and discuss. I think I've got my copy here. Did everybody get one of these in their folder? From Derek Sullivan,
Yeah.
Kenneth Buckland. Oh, no, it was to Derek from Kenneth. It's an outline of the proposed changes
Yep.
coming forward.
These are articles that are going to public hearing in 2 weeks before the planning board.
Ken, do you want to present through this? Do you want to walk us through this, please?
Sure. On the first page, there was a number of,
Did I get that?
Yeah, it should be in your folder.
You got one of these in your folder?
Check. Oh, yeah.
proposals that come forward. And on the second page is where we start with the changes.
So the first page and the first third of the second page are proposed, or?
The first page is the summary list of discussion items on articles, where
Okay,
they've come from, ideas that have been brought up in the, to my attention. And on the second page is where we actually suggest changes in the zoning bylaw in the terms of the landscape buffer between commercial and industrial.
Okay, so going back to the first page, the proposal was to reduce the landscape buffer. And where do we find the new language?
And that's under, at the top of the second page, section 1042.
Oh, I see it, yep.
Minimum landscape.
There's the table, the minimum landscape buffer table. And I've included the changes with the track changes crossed out and proposed numbers put in.
Okay, so everything stays the same up in adjacent use house, single-family home, two-family home, multifamily home, commercial use. The first change is between commercial and industrial, is that correct?
Right.
It's going from 20 feet to 10 is the proposal. And then we go down to office, and it's going from 40 to 20. Single family, two-family, multifamily.
And industrial going from 50 to 40, which matches up with the rest of the table.
Okay. Okay. I see it. Okay, so the next one was?
Next one was determining the non-conforming structure. Right now, it's just the building official. We had a time in between recently where we were...
Without we had nobody in the job.
Right, so my suggestion was to put in a designee for the building official that could make the determinations and continue the process.
So 1341 is where the change is going to happen, and it's this underlined bold face or the building official's designee.
That's correct.
So what happens if the building? I'm not. So if the building official just doesn't designate anybody, then who is it?
Town planner.
And darned if that would be the right thing to do.
Whoever's licensed for the job.
Oh, the building official's designee.
So how is that person chosen? By the building official?
By the town administrator.
By the town?
I don't know how that's thing, because that's a state commissioned job, and I know because I applied for the building commissioner, and for you to make any decisions under buildings, you have to be licensed to do that. So you can't just say, I can't say you can be a designee of buildings.
Well, it's not buildings, it's zoning, and again...
Oh, zoning is different.
Right.
She said buildings.
Yeah, well, it's the building official is the way the zoning regulation reads right now. So the idea is that somebody else, it doesn't have to be a building official to make a determination of zoning.
Whoever he designates.
The zoning enforcement officer could be doing it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess, maybe I'm being too particular here, but it says, "Our building official's designee." In the absence of the building official, should we add a couple more words?
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So the designee, or a designee.
The building official
Only has the authority if the building official is not present.
Because you don't want just somebody making that decision.
The
And
lack
go,
of
yeah,
a
go
building
ahead.
official, are we gonna have the town manager be the person that makes the designee? Who's it gonna be? You know?
Town manager would probably pick somebody to be the zoning enforcement officer.
So can we put town manager or by town manager in the, something? You might be able to pick the words, but
Yeah, let's look at that.
let's get the
Yeah,
town
I mean, I
manager.
don't
Let's
know.
get him,
When it refers to
identify
building-
that the town manager's gonna do it in the absence of the building
I
official.
mean, we have a state inspector for every area, so when building, if you can't get it, you can call a budding town to come do your inspection. If there's conflict of interest, I've done it plenty of towns before.
I think this was, Walter, I think
You
this
could
was
reach out to Vaughan
specifically
or,
pertaining to the situation where we ended up with no building.
no building inspector, right, but you just can't just pick somebody. You can't, because then if they don't know building codes,
That's right, so we're saying who's gonna do the picking.
at that moment, they can make decisions based on they were appointed.
Yeah, and this is just for the determinations of pre-existing
Existing.
non-conforming.
You just don't want somebody to say, oh yeah, go ahead, you can build that, and they don't really know.
And we still do have some of those as well, yeah.
What this is asking is, if the building inspector isn't here,
No, I know that, I get 100%, but I'm saying.
who's gonna,
A guy back.
who's gonna
Have
act on
someone
his
back
behalf?
up. Yeah.
And it's given the building inspector or the building official the authority to designate somebody. And as
Yeah.
devil's advocate, what I'm saying is if the building official is just plain not present, who's gonna name the designee?
I would
That's
think
all.
it would be either.
Yeah, but
maybe-
wouldn't they do that now? Like, once everything,
There's no provision. That's why this is being done, to provide somebody to make that decision.
Then do we go back to the town,
Well,
and just have.
Ken
that
suggested-
That he would select, because he does the hiring for the building
Town
department.
manager.
Town manager.
Town administrator.
And then let him go, and in absence of the building inspector, that he would appoint somebody.
That's,
Because he's part of the hiring process for building inspectors anyway.
we don't get to decide, we can just recommend.
Recommend and just say, you know, it'll go back to the
Ken, I
town
think you're
planner.
hearing us, right?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so let's not labor over it.
Yeah, we got
All
that
right.
covered. So next one is Article 390, marijuana facilities. And heard a couple of different things here. One is to allow medical marijuana where recreational marijuana is allowed, to allow recreational in all the commercial and industrial zoning districts, to allow it in the village centers, to increase the number of retail medical licenses, to prohibit or put a moratorium on social consumption, or to allow social consumption. That was my suggestion, that a local vote would be appropriate to make a determination as to whether or not social consumption is something to consider. So, in the proposed changes on the third page under section 390 marijuana facilities, say that a medical dispensary can be allowed in the other districts where marijuana establishments are allowed, which are those strip commercial district east of Glen Charlie Road and Depot Street.
So you're extending the medical into this, it's the same area as the recreational.
Right.
Okay.
But we only allowing one in this case.
Why?
Because that's what I was asked to put in.
Okay. Well, I don't know about the rest of the board, but my feeling would be that I think one is a mistake. Doesn't provide for.
there's only one person that could open.
Well,
Of what, the medical?
provides a local monopoly, for lack of a better word. It doesn't promote capitalism, competition. You know, if I'm the only guy that can sell heroin legally in Wareham, I can charge anything I want. Heroin's a bad example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Now, you want to rephrase that, please?
But if I'm the only guy that can sell medical marijuana in the town of Wareham, I can charge anything I want. But if there's competition, if I'm the only guy that can sell gasoline in the town of Wareham, then I can charge $7 a gallon for gasoline. If you're low on gas in Wareham, you're buying it from me.
I
Well,
think there's only going to be so
That's
many
my point.
regardless.
I just don't like restriction of trade. I think that competition breeds better business. That's my opinion. I'm only one. To say that there can only be one medical marijuana,
to me, it makes sense that there would be more medical than there would be
Recreational.
recreational.
It's all the
That's
same.
what I agree with. I think
I
it
agree
should
with
be
that.
the other way, because
Yeah.
this says that there's only gonna be
and
one
there's a
for
lot of
medical.
facilities that aren't gonna get approved, so, because the state's list is long.
There's only so many that can come into a town
year.
anyways, right?
Well, our current bylaw only allows 3 recreational, but this says only 1 medical.
So how many are we allowed total? Do we have
Where did
it?
that come from?
Out of somebody's
No,
head.
because actually, this is, what?
Out of somebody's head.
The 3 retail is based on the number of liquor licenses in the town. We're not allowed to say no to recreational marijuana because the town voted in the general election to support legalization of marijuana. What we can do is limit the number, and our allowance is 20% of the number of liquor licenses that we have in town.
No, what did the medical marijuana, was that something that was already in existence before the recreational got passed?
Yes.
And that's why it
Yeah.
just didn't get changed, maybe?
No,
Originally, the medical marijuana was put in the institutional district as it was the existing bylaw,
A single facility.
or a single district.
But it says one
Yeah, but
establishment is what I
but
mean.
that's for a
single
different,
establishment.
different location now.
Within the town, he's saying district, so this is what they want, we want to change it to, is the one for the whole town. What's it currently? As many,
One-
they can open it, they can
right now-
open three?
right now it's not
four?
limited.
Well, no,
Oh.
medical, you see what I mean?
Can
They
you
want to
try-
have only one. What's it state now?
You want to move it?
Does it say we can have more than one medical?
No, right now it doesn't state how many.
We can't have more than one
That's
medical.
what I'm saying. We want to, they want to limit it to one, because the medical is a different criteria than recreational.
But as of right now, we only have one.
We only have one medical, but according to our, what we're changing here is we only want one. So on the books, it has to say that you can have more than one medical. That's what
Right.
I want to know, what that number is.
One.
No, it's not one. We want to change it to one.
They're changing it from 3 to 1.
That's a gray area.
Isn't that recreational is 3? Medical is the same as 3?
Well,
No, you're right. That just because we have one, that's where the proposal said to limit it to one.
Limit it to one. We already have one, so they don't want us to build another one. So what
They're
I'm
going to be
saying is,
moving. They're
what's
going to
the-
be moving.
What's the
doesn't
limit?
matter what,
It don't matter. What's the limit? If we're going to allow recreational to have 3, 4, whatever, medical is, to me, is more important than recreational, because medical is providing a service to people that could use it for whatever reasons their medical are. Recreational is because you just want to go out and smoke it.
yeah.
You can walk there and do whatever you want, but a medical means you have a prescription and you're different criteria. So
Correct.
medical, that's like me saying you can't get your prescription filled at CVS no more. You have to go to Walmart.
I
Exactly.
know,
There's
and
only one Walmart that's going to fill your prescription for medical, and medical is a necessity.
and they run out at the medical. When you only have one, you have patients that are going there, like that have cancer, just different things that they need it
Yeah.
for, and they run out because they sell it. to-
Anybody can
to
get
reach-
medical
'cause anybody-
marijuana. I could go to my doctor and get a card tomorrow if I wanted to, without any problems
Right, but
at
that's-
all. So medicinal and recreational, it's all kind of.
You
But
can buy,
that's-
oh, I think I know
And who's
why.
your doctor?
This is what, okay, so I think I may understand what the
joking.
difference is. I think, because I think we need to understand why it says that, and if I remember correctly, I was talking to somebody that has a medical, I think you can buy more.
Yes.
That's why I think it's like triple the amount that
Yeah,
you can
it's
purchase
really
at
people.
one time.
I personally know people that have their medicinal card that do not need their medicinal card and abuse it. So,
But yeah, but that's
not
a
good friends of
choice.
mine, but know people that do that.
But there's people also that need it, and that when the people that actually have the prescription, yes, everybody knows somebody that can go out and get a prescription for that. We all do. It's coming. But for medical, that's saying that that person needs it. That's prescribed by a doctor. Sure, anybody can get a doctor that says, yeah, I need it, whatever, I can't see straight, and I need it for my eyes, or I got arthritis, and I'm 25, but I got arthritis, and I need marijuana. That's, you can get a doctor to sign, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, a medical, they can go in either a medical facility or recreational, because they have a card regardless. Somebody else would go into recreational only because they don't have a medical card. So we're gonna allow more recreational than people who really need it medically, whether they falsified their medical or whether they have a condition that's maybe in their mind. I don't know how they do it, but they're getting a prescription for other means than what they really needed it for. And that's, they feel they need it, that's their decision. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't wanna limit one medical and let us open up 5 or 6 recreationals. We're taking away from the people that could need it, regardless of how they got it.
I agree. I don't believe there should be just one, but how many should there be?
Yes, I'm thinking maybe
Okay.
we
But does the
match.
state have a regulation for that? I don't know. Do you know? They have a
I don't.
regulation that
Yeah,
says
I
there's
don't.
one or
That's
two.
what-
And then it answers the question for us. We don't
Right.
have to talk about it
But if
anymore.
we say, yeah, we agree on this, then this is by town.
Yeah, but a town can override
All
the
we're
state.
doing is responding and telling the people that are presenting this our opinion, and we can, so I'm happy to state my opinion that that one should be a 3.
That's what I feel. It should be equivalent to what the recreational is. So you're not limited.
They're putting in front of us.
Because then you're
what's
forcing people who
currently
need
being
medical
kicked
to go
around
to a
and-
recreational facility, and it might be a different crowd. You don't know. Once things get calmed down, recreational could have a line a mile long, and the medical's in and
Because
out.
in a lot of cases, medical marijuana is a necessity for the people who really, really need it.
Really need it.
And you limit to one place, like Jim said, one guy selling it, he's the only act in town, okay? And I think that should be changed.
I'd like to be the only guy that can sell chocolate in Wareham.
You wouldn't be here anymore.
Doesn't have to be marijuana.
So there's one more thing about the marijuana. I got you on the 3 versus
On the
1.
number.
The state regulations haven't been finalized on social consumption yet. So the question is whether or not we apply a moratorium, a 1-year moratorium on the issuance of any
Of what?
Changes.
Oh, for social
social
consumption,
consumption.
smoking in
Social
public.
consumption?
Absolutely not.
You mean an establishment?
No, in public.
No,
No?
an establishment, not in public.
Oh, do you want a what, a pot house
Like at
now?
a restaurant?
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
but
Like a restaurant.
there's talk about cannabis cafes.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
They
about?
allowing cigarette
Cannabis
cafes?
cafe.
Cigarette cafes coming back? Because they used to be able to
So-
smoke in bars.
What's
I used to be a smoker, I quit because of that.
so what he's bringing up is that there are people that would like to open up cannabis cafes in Wareham. A couple locations have been identified, and if they can get permission, you're gonna call Uber and get an Uber ride to the location, go in there, smoke your brains out,
Why would anyone want to do that?
and then take Uber to bring you back home, so that you can prove that you're not driving home after.
It's a dumb idea. Let's go hang out with people we don't know.
But you don't have to smoke your brains out, you can do it in moderation?
Yeah, and eat at the same time.
And eat, oh, they're gonna serve food too.
That's what I call a cafe.
Okay.
I think we better be
It's gonna
really
be chocolate ice cream, potato chips, Doritos.
Okay. I think we better be really careful about this, how we approach a lot of this, because this could get out of hand. And, you know, we're talking about cafes now, we're talking about medical marijuana facilities and so forth. You gotta prioritize here what you're gonna deal with. And if you're telling me that you were looking at this going forward for the amount of liquor licenses we have in town, we get a lot of liquor stores in the town of Wareham. A lot of liquor stores.
that's what they-
So what are we gonna do
A
here?
percentage of it.
Right,
They used that that was a makeshift barometer,
yeah.
if you will.
I just say we have to be real careful about this, that's all.
So we could just table this until next year?
Yes.
Well, we're not
That's essentially-
tabling anything.
essentially what it is,
This
yeah.
is going, you're
No,
saying,
he said
I'm just
till
talking
next
about-
year.
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't think you should wait a year.
I don't either. Change the
I
verbiage
think you
now.
should, if Wareham's got places where you can buy it, and we've voted as a town that we're tolerant of retail sales, and if there's entrepreneurs that want to open and establish businesses and pay taxes and pay employees and create cash flow, if we're tolerant of it, then why not have a cannabis cafe in town? Why can we sell at retail and not have a cafe?
Are we trying to teach this whole town?
I don't want to teach anybody
You know,
anything.
you know, my niece goes to the middle school and the high school. They walk by people buying weed and smoking weed all the time by these places we approve to go. So I don't really want to see the kids growing up in this town smelling pot everywhere they go. That's a big
Oh,
thing
they
for me.
smell it now, but I agree with you. I understand
You
what
know?
you're saying, Jake.
I mean,
That's a good point, Jacob. That's a real good point.
my niece had kids in her school get stuff from the medicinal place over here, and I'm getting a little bit upset talking about it because I haven't talked about it, but that does happen. People go to that place, they buy weed, and it gets around to the kids. My niece says, "Oh, that's the best stuff." My niece, my 9th grader. So
Actually, you bring up a point that I was going to say about the medical marijuana. I think it's not the same as the recreational, and I think that's why I wouldn't want to make a decision on it because I don't know enough about it. I know only a little. So I wouldn't want to say, let's just let it be everywhere because I think it may be more potent. There may be reasons why it's limited. I don't really know, but
Anything you get that's I'm in the process right now of building the fourth one in Boston. And the same you get in recreation and the medical, it's the same ones, same people growing it. But the difference is the medical, they treat it for different symptoms. They'll have a lot more variety. Where the recreational, they can only cater to so much.
It's
you
the
know.
same?
Huh?
Because I thought it was different.
Yeah, just because medical's dealing with more people with cancer, different types of ailments, whereas recreational, sometimes it's life choices that you just decide you want to smoke. So you might go in there and say, oh, I don't have chronic 3 arthritis. I don't need this stuff that's going to make me so I can't even function. But somebody else might.
You're saying the medical stuff is a different...
Medical is a lot, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a wider spectrum of treatments because...
It's the same
people
stuff.
come in there, Same stuff.
I don't know.
Well, is
You
it
got
90
botanists
is it
growing
like
plants.
90 proof versus 80 proof?
Wherever the stuff comes from, regardless, it has to get tested by professionals. It has to be, maybe the stuff's medical grade, maybe it's stronger. I don't know. Maybe they take higher dose stuff. I don't know. But regardless, my nieces and my nephew are getting in contact with that stuff coming from that place right there. So, that's happening in this town right now. 110%.
And it's happening. It's happened before too, though. See, that's the thing is, my kids went to school here. Yours did too. All of my kids, all 7 of them, and it was going on before. The difference is we have a pot shop now, and now the kids are talking about it because we're talking about it. But them kids were getting it in school before
Just
too.
like,
Yeah, but they weren't getting it from the legal
the
place down the
dispensary,
road.
right. They were
Walking
getting
around with
legally,
their
right.
with their bag, and I don't like that. I just don't like it.
there used to be a known guy that would buy at the Packy for underage
Yeah, 100%.
school kids.
100%.
So now there's a known guy that will buy at the butt shop.
Until that one kid let somebody know.
This is the kind of stuff that needs to come out.
I think that the decisions we make on this, especially about medical marijuana, and I can tell you as a 2-time cancer survivor, that this stuff and the way they make it and how they disseminate this out to the public and everything like that, it really, really helps a lot of people. It's not just smoking it. There are certain types of things you can rub on your skin, stuff you can take internally. There's stuff you can take like tablets for pain and everything, and it works. It really works. So I understand your concerns.
Anybody can get medical card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can get medical card.
And everybody can get a driver's license, basically. So, where do we go with this? I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I really do. And having 2 grandkids
And that's
of my
why
own.
this has to be voted on by the town at the town meeting.
I think pot is better than alcohol, okay? Because, drunk drivers all the time drive around killing people. We don't hear about a lot of people like that. But regardless, sorry. Maybe it was a good thing you didn't hear me.
Now he turned his microphone on, he's quiet.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's a hot subject.
It just comes out. It just comes out. And then I
Yeah, but
forget.
it's good commentary. I mean, it just gets it out there. So, the feelings are there, and what we do with this and how we vote on this later on is going to determine what happens in this town. And that's pretty much the way I see it.
So you'll have an option then to, if it gets passed through the planning board and the board of selectmen, there'll be an article that allows you to vote for a moratorium on social consumption as to whether or not you want to vote for or against.
What he's asking.
I don't think it'll pass anyways. I think they'll try,
yeah.
I don't think the whole town will go for it. If the town votes for it, it is what it is.
Yeah,
There's
so
nothing you
just
can
give town meeting an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, we give them
I
the
don't think
option.
it'll
The
go. There's
biggest
gonna be
thing
a lot
I would
of-
worry is like we did it before with coffee shops, seeing them open up, and then all of a sudden they find out that they got 20 of them, and you find out they're not working, and then you got 20 vacant buildings.
I'm gonna,
It's a tough subject.
repeat my opinion that under 392, the words east of Glen Charlie Road, Depot Street, and Great Neck Road should be stricken. That's on the
I got you,
3rd page, if anybody's following.
got you.
That's just my,
Now, the next one was on the village districts, section 620 and the dimensional standards, to make the onset village standards the standard that applies also in the Wareham Village downtown zoning districts, because the Onset Village district is a little more liberal in its dimensional requirements.
And so Wareham we're suggesting that Wareham become as, the same as Onset? Is that what, the same?
The same density allowances be provided in both villages.
Is particularly multifamily, is that what this is referring to, each additional first dwelling unit?
What number are we looking at?
620. We're on the third page, where it says village
District.
districts.
Yep.
See it? So they're taking Wareham Village 1 from 7,500 square feet down to 5,000 for a one-family, am I saying it right?
That's right.
And they're taking Wareham Village 2 from 15,000 down to 10,000 for a single or a two-family dwelling.
So this is all for new,
They just, and then for the first dwelling unit,
Just gets in.
they're going, the same, each additional unit
Well, this is Onset, the village.
on Wareham Village 1 is going from 2,000 down to 1,000. I get it.
You know what I mean?
And the 2 and the 3 are being stricken, stat 2, stat 3.
Those are just notes, yeah.
They were just notes, okay. So if you were building, if I get this, if I remember this from reading the bylaws before, if you were building a hotel in Wareham Village right now from an existing structure, you'd use 15,000 for the first unit and 2,000 for each additional unit. And the way this would change is you'd use 5,000 for the first unit and 1,000 for each additional unit.
Right.
So if somebody wanted to build a hotel or a motel on Main Street or in Wareham Village 1, feasibly a acre or two lot could go from 20 to 40 or 50 units. Basically, they're just allowing them to build more units. I agree with that change. Mazzy made the comment here one night, we were at the end of the meeting, he said if they want to do something to downtown Wareham Village, and encourage people to come here and make it like a little village where people walk the sidewalks and go to cafes, and he said, why don't you have it in the zoning to allow somebody to build a hotel or a motel? I don't like the word a hotel right in Wareham Village. Our current bylaws don't allow for it. This change allows for it. That's basically where we're coming from. Okay. So, and, you know, listening to what the town is planning and trying to do and with thoughts going forward, I get it. Allow somebody to build a structure or remodel a structure such that it's viable, economically viable.
That's the key.
Definitely be an improvement.
Yeah?
That's the key. The density is enough that there'd actually be some reinvestment.
Yeah. A 3 or a 4 unit hotel doesn't usually do very well.
No.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So the last one in the zoning was something that you've recently been dealing with, which is the definition of motor vehicle service. And the suggestion was adding to the definition the words towing and car wash. So that motor vehicle service would allow towing
And car washing.
and car wash.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not.
No?
No, I feel like we should be able to make a determination based on where they put it. I don't think we should across the board. That was the problem with this last one. Not that I think that was not a good location necessarily, but I think a good location for a service of cars may not necessarily be a good location for towing and storage, which is what ends up happening. So I think we need to give ourselves the ability to make that determination on a case-by-case basis. If we put it all together, we can't do that. And that's how it currently sits. I think we need to separate it.
One of the problems is that towing and car wash are not included in the zoning. So you're suggesting that we should have a separate
It should,
listing
yeah, it
for
should be
car
verbiage
wash
for it.
and towing.
Yeah, to designate that that's a separate service from
Yeah,
auto
because,
body
yeah, I
repair.
agree now that I think about it, because you think if you put a car wash back in some neighborhood, who's really gonna go there? But
People have to approve stuff, they can't just
Right.
go build a car wash and.
You can't put a car wash where you can't put an auto repair shop. He's saying you're gonna add towing and car washing.
To the definition.
To motor vehicle service. Motor vehicle service is only allowed in certain.
Yeah, so it's just adding those, so they don't have to come here for a special permit.
Correct.
So it's just making it easier.
Doesn't say
They won't
that
get
we're
approved
gonna-
anyways if it's not on a right.
Actually,
Right.
You can still wash your car
But it
in
will
your own yard.
clarify.
I thought we made the determination that car service included towing, which was what the case that came before us.
But it's not in the bylaw yet
That
right
was,
now.
that was the
was
decision that we made, and it's being challenged. What this is saying is, put it in writing, so he's putting it in writing.
Right.
Towing and car washing are part of auto service. So if they still have to come to the zoning board to get a permit, a zoning,
Special permit.
special permit.
If they don't.
he's gonna
Yeah,
add the
I
definition.
still think we should have that verbiage somewhere, but I think we should allow ourselves to. I
You're
think
not-
towing is different, and that's,
Yeah. You think towing is different or storage is different?
I would say towing and storage kind of go hand in hand. Somewhat. You tow cars, you're gonna have a lot more, I think, stored.
If you're
I don't
towing it,
know.
you're towing it for a reason, so most likely, they're either getting it fixed right away, or they're gonna
We
store
have
it overnight.
bylaws right now that determine how
So when
many
does it become storage?
vehicles
24
can be
hours, 48?
unregistered
On a
on a lot.
But what's the applicability to motor vehicle repair shops? I know it applies to residences and businesses, but
I'm pretty sure our bylaws, I'd have to do some research, I'm pretty sure we've covered it in the bylaw.
that's just
Junk cars, I think junk and.
my thought, but I don't, what does everybody else think? You think it's all the same?
I'm fine with letting towing and car washing be part of automotive service.
I agree with you. I mean, it's gotta be spelled out.
What's that, Bob?
I agree with Veronica. It's gotta be spelled out as to what each individual entity is going to be. The way the bylaws read now is vague at best, and by doing something like this and making everything more pronounced, there's no question you can do it or you can't, depending on what the bylaw says. And with other things that are ongoing now, there are gray areas. There are a lot of gray areas, and these gray areas should be looked at and they should be taken care of. That's my feeling. I don't like gray areas on anything, because everybody always has an opinion. Well, what if this happened, or what if that happened? If it's in black and white and it's right there, I go to chapter and verse and everything is spelled out, and this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And
So you think that towing and car washing should be separate line items, and where they can be allowed and not be allowed should be different from where motor vehicle service should be allowed?
What, is it on the is commercial? What district is it in? The,
Right
that
now,
you- that you can have-
motor vehicle service is listed on
Yep.
on the table.
What would it matter if you had a dealership working on a car, or you had a car wash, or a towing service with a lot? I mean, if the lots are, that's what we're gonna approve them anyways if they come in here and they said, hey, we want to put a car wash on this lot. That's approved for everything else, but it's not approved on our bylaws. But we come and we say yes anyways. So basically, we're just wasting the board's time and their time is what I think. I think everyone's a little bit confused with this. I think it's just getting put in there so it makes, say you want to go buy a lot and you want to go put a car wash. You go to the town, they say, oh, you can't put a car wash on that lot. But then you just come to here and we say yes, because why wouldn't you put a car wash on it? You know, it's pretty,
I think for
Maybe we're thinking-
for me, car wash is not the big deal. The towing is, because it's a 24-hour thing. And it
yeah,
may.
but what if the person owned, they own a I mean, towing, Mark's Towing, they do repairs and they do towing.
I wanted to point out that.
They do repairs, they do towing, they do both, so that's what
Well,
car dealerships do, that's just what they do.
Let's look at what's,
The town has to approve it
Yeah, look at
anyways.
the table.
let's look at the
Yeah, that's
table
what I was
right
just
now
trying to
under
find.
motor vehicle service.
Yeah.
Come on, it's, in the
Page,
bylaws.
page 11 of the
That'd be
bylaws.
Page 11.
Yeah, it's right
Right
in the
about the
beginning.
middle of the page. Motor vehicle service is not allowed in R130, it's not allowed in R60, it's not allowed in R43, it's not allowed in R30, it's not allowed in MR30. It's a big Y, yes. Motor vehicle service is allowed in Wareham Village 1. It's not allowed in Wareham Village 2. It is allowed in Onset Village 1. It's not allowed in Onset Village 2. Commercial strip and general commercial require a special permit by the zoning board. It's not in CP, conference, CNF, MAR, but that's
It seems
marine,
odd to me.
institutional. It's a big yes in industrial. So you can have a motor vehicle service in an industrial park. You can have it in Onset Village 1, you can have it in Wareham Village 1. If you want to have it in commercial strip or general commercial, you need to come in front of the zoning board, right now. So where motor vehicle service is allowed right now, would you not allow towing?
Wareham Village? I'm surprised, actually.
No, that's,
Yeah, a couple spots
that
came
gets
up
us
on my
right to
grid.
the roof.
Yeah, that's
That
what I'm
gets us right
saying.
I mean, if it's allowed on spots that's not, around houses and stuff.
So, based on Veronica's answer, perhaps it would be better for towing to become a separate line item
line
under
item.
principal use.
I just didn't realize it was in all those other areas. I
Okay.
thought it was allowed in different
And
areas.
then
Oh.
we could yes or no it,
According to that.
we could give it the same yeses except for Wareham Village 1. What about
Onset Village,
1?
same thing.
So she'd put an N in Onset and an N, do you follow us, Ken?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What about car washes? Would you not allow car washes in Wareham Village 1?
I would.
Fire department, there's a lot of them right now.
True.
What, car wash, but they're talking car wash as a business or
But then
fundraiser?
the fire department would lose their business.
Yeah.
Fundraiser,
Really mess up things for the fire department, remember that.
Yeah.
yeah, fundraisers is different.
How are they gonna make any money with their car wash?
The fire department doesn't make any money with it, but the cheerleaders
But
and
the
the football
cheerleaders aren't gonna make any
team,
money now.
I don't know.
Kiwanis Club and everybody else and the.
You know,
dance-
Wareham Village, I don't see it as an auto repair area,
Yeah,
a car wash area, a towing area. I see it as cafes, residences, businesses, offices, retail,
exactly.
you know.
So you don't want them to wash cars in in the Wareham Village either?
I just
No.
Nowhere to
wouldn't
do it
wanna know.
anyways,
I
is
guess
there?
not.
Where
I
would you-
wouldn't. I mean, the fire department's different,
Yeah, they do it in the fire department.
but no, I don't think I would want to see a facility turned into that in the middle of Wareham
I
Village.
mean, there is garages in Wareham Center too, remember
Right,
that.
right,
We have a
right.
gas station, has a garage, it could be opened back up.
Yeah.
Business, things pick up, people's like right there.
So would you want towing and car wash to be, would you want car wash to be a separate line item? And individual yes or no right across?
I think you
I
should do
would.
car wash separate too
You-
then.
I would.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put them
Ken?
both separate. You can vote on
You
it.
got these people's input?
Yep.
Then no sense killing ourselves over that one anymore either.
All right, sounds good. Those are the zoning bylaws that I have in place going forward to the public hearing in 2 weeks.
What's this Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw business?
That's something that, it's not a zoning
That's-
article.
Okay.
All right.
A 50-foot no-activity zone shall be required for all new commercial and industrial developments, including but not limited to strip malls, office buildings. Wow.
9 o'clock.
Okay. And I still think 398 should be stricken too, just for the record. That's my own I think that there's a zoning board for a reason, and to put a rule that says no variances are allowed is,
Doesn't say no variances, it says no use variance.
well, okay. No use variance are allowed for any marijuana establishment or medical marijuana treatment center. That's saying no variance. So I just don't agree with 398. I think it should be struck. I think that this board is capable of making a decision. Somebody comes in front of this board and says, we want a variance, and these are the reasons we want it. I think this board should be allowed to grant a variance. That's my opinion. That's why this board exists.
I could be fresh right now and say, what would be the hardship
What would be the hardship?
to have a marijuana facility?
I don't know, I don't know that there'd be a
Not making
hardship.
enough money.
I want to be more relaxed.
What about the changing of the number of medical treatment centers within the town? What do we talk, what do we say, 3?
You were saying 3 before, is what I
3?
heard, yeah.
That makes sense.
Right now, the bylaw says you cannot have a marijuana store on Cranberry Highway from Glen Charlie Road all the way up to Wareham Crossing. I think if somebody came forward with a location on Cranberry Highway that's zoned commercial, this board should be allowed to grant them a variance, or that section should be taken out. That's my opinion. I don't understand why the original bylaw painted the current user into one single building in town. It was the only building in town where they could locate. Now everybody's angry with them for being there. So now we make a bylaw that says there's no board in town with the authority to grant relief. Sounds to me like somebody's got a hidden agenda. That's just the way I feel about it.
Oh,
Well,
That's all, I was just
Duly noted.
just offering my opinion. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I
have a
wanted to
sec-
do that 2 hours ago. I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed?
The heart, you know.
Nobody's opposed.